Hello and welcome to a Bergkamp Wonderland, an Arsenal podcast. I'm Gimli, and tonight my guests are Diet Coke break. It's Danny the GFP. Do you like what I did there?
I wouldn't drink Diet Coke if you paid me. I don't drink any fizzy drinks. What?
You're a fatty.
I'm happy.
No, you're a fatty. There's a difference. Well, you might be a happy fatty. I don't know.
Happy fatty. Is there such thing as a non-happy fatty?
I don't know. Eat some cake, then you'll be happy.
We've had a busy week this week, haven't we, sorting out our new thing?
We have. It's a vicious circle, but tell everybody about the future of ABW.
We have our first official sponsor.
We do.
It is www.shitterglitter.com. Go and have a look on Twitter. And they said in the email that just like real shitter glitter, you've got to have a gap between shitter and glitter. So it's shitter_glitter. Proper shitter glitter. That's some other person we don't know. And they sent you, didn't they? They sent you 1.4 cubic meters of shitter glitter in a skip outside the front door. And how long did it take you to get through it?
Oh, about 3.5 days.
And did you go for the chocolate flavour or the vanilla?
I went for vanilla because chocolate is moment on the lips, lifetime on the hips. Do you know what I'm saying?
It's 0 calories. That's the point they've got. Yeah. So from now on, people, we are permanently sponsored by shitterglitter.com, and go and have a look at their Twitter account. Their website will be up soon, and it's for the gentleman in your life that has a hairy, boring body, or the lady. They're not sexist. We don't know, and then they will deliver it. It's $99.99 for as much as you want, and it's usually they will deliver it by the cubic ton, but they will only deliver the skip load of shitter glitter to your back garden. They don't do front gardens. That's a stipulation.
For all the people asking, who are they?
Yeah,
Danny has given you all the information, so we should say we are now a Bergkamp Wonderland shitter glitter podcast.
That's it. Because everyone else is getting decent. We're not quite up to the level of gunners in the USA who have got bag of dicks, which is apparently an American thing. I said for the UK market they need box of cocks, but so far they've not got back to me. So it's shitter glitter all the way with us. Right, on with the show.
Yes, on with the show. Next up, our quiffed journo, it's Simon Collings. Hello, Simon.
Hello, Kim. How you doing?
After what Danny's just explained, I couldn't be happier.
I know. I'm just trying to think how much shitter glitter I could get outside my front door.
I mean, they do it by the skip.
Only back door, Simon. They don't do front doors. Back doors only.
Yeah, okay. Classy bunch.
But if you have to have it craned in, they will supply the crane.
And I should say they are working on a Femi-Fresh shitter glitter for the front door. So, there we go. But it's nice to hear that you're well. It's been a long time since you've graced our airwaves.
I know. I think the last time I was on, we were actually all quite positive. So.
Yeah, I know.
Well, you were on in 1998.
Yeah.
I should announce as well, Simon is the only man in the world that has more holidays than Fife.
Yeah, me and him are in sort of personal competition. So, I mean, he went all the way to Machu Picchu to try and win it. So he's currently ahead at the moment, I think.
Oh, you have any idea what you're going to pull out the bag with the next one? We're going to go for a Cancun or something?
I don't know. I think I'm going to have to go outside Europe somewhere.
Yeah, it's got to be something like that.
Didn't we nearly sign Machu Picchu from some Bulgarian team in the summer? I think we did.
Yeah, we could do with him at the back, actually. I think he's got
you could play him at centre-back.
We'll start a rumour and see if he gets picked up.
Lovely.
Sounds good to me. Next up, our man in Poland, it's Steve. Hello, Steve.
Hello.
It's been a long time. How you've been keeping?
Oh, just ferreting about, usual stuff, lurking about in Eastern Europe and generally sort of annoying the locals and keeping my powder dry until after the derby.
Well, we hope that you've got many a rant tonight. We are a fan of the Steve rant, and so are our listeners.
There won't be any ranting tonight. It's going to be a calm and cool, measured dissection.
Sounds good to me. And finally, I thought Devon was a place, and now I'm informed it's a person. What's going on here? From Goonosphere, it's Devon. Hello, Devon.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing? But I'm blown away by shitter glitter, and I think that you guys should team up with Colon Cleanse Coffee. I
wouldn't leave your shitter glitter in the wind. It would just blow away.
Even if it's next door's house looks like it's been sparkled. You get a free My Little Pony with every order as well. But the day Gimli's had with his bowel movements, oh dear Gimli.
I have. It was. I mean, to be honest,
you were self-propelled at one point, weren't you?
I was literally, but my head hit the bathroom window. I shot in there that fast.
It was like an invisible. What's those things? A big orange thing where you grab the horns and bounce around on. I don't mean
space hopper.
That's it. It was like he was on an invisible party space hopper.
To be honest with you, we went to Tesco's, and I honestly thought that I was going to have to go into the disabled toilet so I could put the bar across and fucking hold on.
Yeah, but you park in the disabled toilet and the wheelchair spaces anyway, because that's the kind of person you are.
In all fairness, I've stopped doing that since the car park has put cameras on it now, so they've kind of clamped down. So I'm kind of a rogue when I want to be, but not if I'm going to get caught on camera.
Those are the best place to go, though. There's so much privacy and you can relax. There's so much space. It's bigger than an apartment in London.
I do feel, though, that in disabled toilets, they should have newspapers, because if you're going to have a poo and you're going to be in there for a while, let's be honest, you're going to need some reading material, right? Because you're in a disabled toilet, you're camped. That's it.
Mm-hmm. And let's be fair, if you had a newspaper and you did miss because you didn't get your jacksie down on the fucking target in time, it would hit the sun on the floor where it belongs.
Exactly. I like it. See? Multi-use. We're podcasting whatever it is. Right. Yes. Danny, we'll go to you first up, as we always do, who's got some tin pot rundown of the injuries, loan and results.
Well, in the world of ladies, we were at home in the Women's Cup, which is I think it's the FA Cup, and so yeah, 380 people there, which is not too bad. We only got beaten by Poxy Reading. I know they were above us in the league table, only on goal difference, but they beat us 2-1 at home. And I'm sure I remember reading that Ismael Garcia, which is the Arsenal ladies manager, is leaving. So I don't think there's going, unless we're going to go pro there.
They have, Danny. They've they announced today that they've reappointed the Melbourne City coach.
Oh.
I think they have. They have reappointed someone in that role. So yes, he has gone. Otherwise, they wouldn't be offering it to somebody else.
Very good. The under-18s played in the under-18s Premier League Cup. They won 4-2. But Soccerway doesn't seem... I've just had a coffee and it's going to make me burp. Doesn't seem to give... Oh dear, a shit about the result. And they've just put 4-2. Don't know who scored. So I'm just going to say 3 people with double-barrel surnames scored and 1 person who's unpronounceable scored. That's that one sorted. The injury room, you got Danny Welbeck, groin strain. He'll be back any day. I don't want him ever to come back. Spina, he's had a neck transplant. He should be back any day. Mustafi thigh strain, should be out for a month. Santi Cazorla, it said it was down to 2 weeks. It's now back up to 6 weeks. And if you saw the pictures at the front of La Marca or Marca, or however you say it, where they've had part of it. Yeah, where they've had part of his tattoo from his arm with his daughter's name on put over his ankle. You might not be able, if he moves to Wales, Gimli, you're going to have to give up your parking space in the wheelchair space park place, because he's fucked. Poor bloke.
Fuck that. I'll give my house to him.
Oh, God. I saw that and I thought it was a mock-up or not a joke, but I thought it was just, this is what he's going to have to do to get it sorted, and it's not, it is real. You look at the state of that ankle. Poor bloke. And he's given all that for Wenger.
Just a quick one, though. Sorry, Steve, but does anyone here actually think that he's going to play for Arsenal Football Club again? I know that's what he wants.
No.
I
don't think he's going to play competitive football again. And having talked to Dom in the group about that sort of injury, he said, that there's such a low blood flow to those areas. It's so hard to get antibiotics to work down there. He said that, the fact that he's lost 8 centimetres of Achilles tendon, he's lucky he's walking. I mean, they can regenerate tendons. They can make them artificial. But the problem is that ankle's not going to stand up to being kicked. And in football, he's going to get kicked, especially the way he plays. So game over.
Well, he had gangrene too. That's the thing that we're talking about a damn near amputation, and you want him to come back and play in the Premier League?
It's not going to happen.
No, I can't see it. Not with the levels of the Premier League. I read in that article as well, the doctor said that he would be lucky to walk with his daughter again, let alone ever kick a ball professionally. So I really feel for
your
him.
Courage. I admire your courage. Go be a coach.
Yeah.
At Man City. Knowing our luck.
Steady.
Right, Danny, go on, carry on with this tin pot rundown.
That's it. Okay, you can pick any one player, and I'll just give you a roundup of how he's doing on loan. Do
you know what? You've said him this week, but I like the name of that fucking unpronounceable kid. You say his name, unpronounceable scored. Who's
Kilichi Nakawakalaki.
Oh, jeez.
Or do you mean Lucas Perez? He's doing quite well.
I mean, go on. Let's just give us. Actually, Kate sat by me again. Kate. would you like to hear about Lucas Perez? Yes, she'd like to hear about Lucas Perez.
Thank you for getting back to us sometime within the hour. Okay, Mr. Lucas Perez, as I'm sure you don't say it. He's had a decent run of games because he made his comeback in the 10th of September. And he's been playing a few games as sub, but his last few games, I go backwards. He played against Atletico Madrid, they lost 1-0. Yes, not surprising. Then they played Las Palmas, and they beat them 3-1. He got a goal and an assist. And then before that, they played Girona, and he got a goal. So far, he's managed to get 3 goals and 1 assist in the league. Has he done anything? And 1 goal in the Copa del Rey, which I think is their FA Cup. So yeah, he's not doing too bad. And considering he's only just started playing the last 3 games, actually 5 of the last 3 league games, he played the full 90 minutes, playing as a centre forward. Yep, so he's back and he's doing good. And we're paying half his wages, so we should all get free season tickets. Does it?
No, it's not a loan watch, but for all of the people that were happy when we sold Gabriel, and let's be honest, he didn't quite make it at Arsenal, but for all the people happy we sold him, he is like undefeated in about 8 games, is it, for Valencia at the moment?
7 wins and a draw, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So
that'll be because he's playing for a team that can fucking defend as a unit.
Sorry. I think the language thing's a big thing as well. I think you can actually speak the language everyone there. It makes a big difference, I think.
Yes.
Probably. Anyway, that's enough for the roundup.
I was going to say, can I get one more in? Let's talk about our goalkeeper of the future. The reason we sold Wojciech Szczesny and stuck it out one more year. How's Emiliano Martinez tearing it up at Getafe?
he
hasn't played.
one cup game. Well, that's it. The rest of it, he's been doing the Ox impersonation on the sunny climes of Spain every single game, and it's not like they're winning. They've won 1, 2, 3 games. They've lost 4 and they've drawn the rest. And
see, that's where back in the old HTML days it would have been bracket / sarcasm bracket close.
I thought he'd actually played a few games because I keep forgetting what team he's played for. I know it's a team that just got promoted, I think. So it's not good.
We don't need Martinez anyway. We have Super Matt Macy.
All 6'12" of him.
Yes,
he's a beast. Has he played recently, Gimli?
Yeah, he has. So
tell us.
The first place to start.
Wake me up when you're finished.
There is an oncoming joke here somewhere.
Half our listeners have topped themselves by now.
They probably have. That's it. We'll fucking skip that shit on 25 minutes.
It's only the shit glitter keeping them here.
It is. I bet you. No, they've already switched off. They've already gone to /glitter on Twitter. It rhymes. /glitter on Twitter. I love it. Brilliant.
And hopefully they'll be bringing out a lemon version, and because it'll be bitter glitter on Twitter.
Do you reckon we could do something with the good people at VI Poo?
Oh, you could do. You'd probably get it in bulk though.
Those are what dreams are made of. Right then. Anyway, we'll go back to the serious shit. So the first place to start is at the Emirates last Thursday. Red Star, the team that was in front of us. On the night, a ball draw, but we saw a few youngsters. Anybody want to talk about this one?
No.
Yeah.
No. I was there, so I don't mind talking about it. But I mean,
okay.
Can I ask you a question, Simon?
Yeah.
In all your time watching Arsenal, and bearing in mind I've been watching them 50 years, have you ever seen a team so fucking keen to roll around, lie on the floor, and waste fucking time as Red Star Belgrade? Because I haven't.
Oh, that was just one of the many painful things about it. I mean, I think it's one of the worst Arsenal games I've seen in probably almost ever. It was just so flat. I think almost no one wanted to be there, from half the Arsenal team to half the Arsenal fans. I mean, other than Matt Macy, I thought had a brilliant game. He made that fantastic save that we talked about. I thought Maitland-Niles had a good game at wing back again. Rhys Nelson had quite a good game at wing back as well. Considering neither of them would probably want to play there. And I think watching it back, certainly when it was live there, I think Nelson, he gets caught out a lot defensively, but he gets away with it because of his pace. I thought El Nene was very good at centre back, and I'm sure we'll talk about the whole Coquelin thing. But after El Nene played that well, I think he got the UEFA man of the match for the game. After he played that well, I found it odd how we went with Coquelin on Sunday. But for me, watching that game, the first few Europa League games, obviously we saw, Walcott played quite well in them, Jack played quite well in them, Giroud played quite well in them. But I think they almost know now that if you're playing in the Europa League team, you're basically playing for the B team. And unless you're Rhys Nelson or Maitland-Niles or Matt Macy, you're a young kid, you're thinking, oh, this is great, it's fantastic. But if you're Olivier Giroud or if you're, Jack Wilshere or if you're Theo Walcott, you basically know that I'm in the B team and I'm not going to get in the first team. So I think with them, you're almost seeing a lack of motivation because they're like, this is it, basically it. So.
Well, with Ollie, that's not true because he gets brought on every fucking week regularly to ruin all Arsenal's movement in the first team at 69 minutes. But Walcott,
but he's not starting any Premier League games, is he?
Not with his form, no. But I mean, Walcott's just getting paid to fucking hide on the pitch. I wouldn't mind getting 150 a week to do that.
Yeah, but I think with all them, they're seriously demotivated. You're basically in a B team. So
and let's be honest with ourselves, guys. We really need to take this competition seriously because. Which sounds stupid to say, but if we don't win this, we're not gonna. There's no Champions League football. I mean, come on, be honest with yourselves. This is a competition that we need to win. We have to pull a Manchester United from last season. It's important, and this past game, the reason I didn't want to talk about it is because you're playing people out of position that just have to get game time, and then like you said, there's a couple of fringe first teamers that are out there collecting paychecks. It was uninspiring, a 0-0 draw.
Walcott was awful, wasn't it? I think that's one of the worst games I've seen him play.
Okay, I mean, if you were a scout and you came to look at Walcott, even contemplate getting a loan of him from Arsenal, after 10 minutes of that game, if sat next to Gareth Southgate, who was also up in the stands, by the way, you would have crossed his name off that list and fucking put him down as like someone you would never ever pick again. And I'm sure Gareth Southgate mentally did it. He was missing, passing, hiding inside the middle of the pitch, wasn't covering his fucking fullback. Yeah, okay, I know the system doesn't benefit him, but he was offside more than Adebayor could fucking dream of, out of fucking position, and gave the ball away nearly as much as Alexis did on fucking Sunday.
I mean, he's the new Darren Bent. He's Arsenal's Darren Bent. He's going to score a goal every once in a while that makes everybody go, woo! But most of the time he's shit. And he makes a lot of money.
Theo is a great place to start. And from watching the game, I thought he was a massive passenger on the night. I mean, there's a couple of questions that come from around him. I mean, shouldn't he, in a team of reserves and kids, be a standout when he's playing in that team? Danny, what do you think?
Yeah, you're right. He should do. I was just struggling to get myself off of mute then. It's you look at that and you would think, oh, well, we've got the likes of Giroud, French international of some repute. Jack Wilshere, well, it's not really his position. And what am I looking? Why has he got Jack Wilshere here? He came on. Oh, no, he started. Yeah, it was the Man City game he came on. And Jack was drifting into the centre of midfield when Coquelin was doing what Wenger usually does, telling them to try and go and play up front and score as many goals as he can from shooting wildly into the crowd. And Walcott. But the biggest problem with that, like you were saying, is Walcott and Giroud. You're both internationals. You both scored goals. You've both been to World Cups. Why the hell can you not score against a load of donkey molesters, which is what most of them look like? They look like bloody. I'm not going to say war criminals like someone did. Who said war criminals on the radio show?
John.
Anyway, John said a load of war criminals. Yeah. So that's just. I mean, they're top of their league, and they came there with a game plan. Like Steve said, if it got a bit windy, because the wind does build up in that stadium, they were going over just because the wind was knocking them. But I mean, if their striker only got Bukaki, only got a 6.0 rating. I mean, their goalkeeper pulled off maybe 1 or 2 saves at the most. I'm just looking here. We had 11 shots. And we had 3 on target, and they had 7, and they had 3 on target. We had 83% pass success rate and 64% possession. And our average team... Gone.
Walcott was freaking captain on the night as well.
That's because Wenger loves him.
See, this is the problem, and I tweeted it during the game as well, and Devon will go to you with this question. Walcott is, as Steve said, 150k a week. I heard 140k a week, so whatever that one is. But he is on an obscene amount of money a week with his renewal coming up. You look at it, what is he, 28, 29? So this will be his last big contract. I mean, how can you justify giving him a pay rise?
You can't.
You have to sell him.
Or let him walk. I mean, if you can get money for him, if you could get a West Ham or a Swansea he's not. like I said, he's somebody else's Darren Bent. He's somebody like, yes, he's scored however many goals he scored at Arsenal, but like there's the same people that say he's been here for a decade and the only thing he's done is grow a beard. So.
And do you think? Sorry, do you think, Steve, that we reward players at Arsenal for mediocrity? I mean, Walcott is a player that has never really improved. He has the odd, like Devon said, the odd flourish. He scores a few goals. Everyone thinks he's great. And then the next 2 years, he goes being shit. We had all the sign-dating shit. How do you go about getting rid of a player that is going to want to command massive money at other clubs because we've put them on that pedestal and given them that amount of money?
You basically you don't renew his contract. Let him fuck off on a free because he's worthless to Arsenal. He can't defend. He's had a decade at the club. He had one really good season, which he capitalised on Robin van Persie leaving and blackmailed the club into getting a contract. Ever since then, he was injured and he's been shit. Yes, he got 19 goals last season, but look at who they were fucking against, stat padding against crap sides. And the fact is that at 28, he's not going to develop. He isn't suddenly going to blossom late like Ian fucking Wright did. In fact, actually, the only thing he could blossom would be in Ian Wright's garden if we planted him fucking upside down. So the best thing to do is to let him leave on a free because we're not going to be able to sell him because of his wages. The only way we'd be able to sell him would be to subsidise his wages. Well, why would we want to fucking do that? And this is another thing. He's going to want a 3 to 4, maybe even 5-year deal. He's not going to want 140 a year. He's going to want 180. He's going to want 160. There's no point. And this comes to a lot of players now. You've got to look at how much his wages are and what wage he thinks he's going to command and how much that contract's going to cost you over 3 or 4 years and how much it's going to cost you when you can't resell him, especially when the fact he's English. So I would just fuck him off. I would just say to him, right, we're not renewing your contract. You can play in the Europa League and fuck around. Oh, by the way, Gareth Southgate said you're not playing for England. So you've got a choice. You either drop your wages demand and go somewhere else, or you leave on a free and end up at Newcastle or Crystal Palace.
I can see in the chat box here as well, just some stats. Danny's put 140 grand on a 3-year deal would be 22 million pounds, and Simon's just chipped in as well with he's on 140 grand a week, which expires in June 2019. Devon, I know you wanted to come in on this, didn't you?
Well, I just basically wanted to come back to your original question where you said, do we reward people for mediocrity at Arsenal? Keep in mind, we just sold a player to Liverpool that turned down £180,000 a week. We sold Chamberlain and we were going to make him one of the top earners at our club. For what? For what? And he took less to go to Liverpool because he said, he didn't see a place for himself at the club or whatever political answer that it was. But to go back to your original question, do we reward mediocrity? Hell yes, we do. Absolutely. There are people that are making money week in and week out for nothing, for no reason.
It's a core part of Wenger's team culture now. Why is Payton still at the club? He's been fucking up all our goalkeepers for a decade now. Gazidis actually named him as number 1 top cunt he wanted to get rid of, pointed the finger at him in the national press. He's got a fucking hip injury. He's limping around the fucking training ground. He can't actually train the keepers, yet he's still there drawing a wage.
And Czech wanted to bring Lallachon with him when he came over from Chelsea. And apparently Wenger said no, which is ridiculous. Why would you not bring over, the best goalkeeper coach in the Premier League?
Because
makes no sense.
Because he wanted to keep his number 1 brown-nosing fucking crawling cunt there instead.
Because he doesn't want to be challenged, and that's the problem. And we can go on about that for hours. That's why Steve Bold is there, and every time something goes wrong with the zonal marking system, he just sits there and takes the chew out because nobody can question anything because the power structure is set up to where nobody is going to question the power structure. So on to the next point.
Simon, just finish us off on this one. What are your thoughts on Theo Walcott, his wages, and what would you do with him?
I mean, with his wages, he's in terms of his agent or himself, he signed his contracts, at good points. I mean, when he had that one in 2013, he was our sort of main man. That was the season after, Van Persie had gone. We were in desperate need if he was scoring what goes on that great run. So he sort of had us over a barrel there. And that was almost one where you were saying about the thing with signed a ting and all this sort of stuff and the fans going mad, where we had to sort of sign him on. And the one in 2015, again, he was in a position of strength, and I think now he will realise, he's not going to get the kind of money that he would even expect from Arsenal. He's not going to get, 140 grand he's on. He's going to have to get a pay cut. I would expect that the club would probably, try and look at selling him this summer, but if he wants the wages that he's going to want, which is probably, over £100,000 a week, 120, something like that, 130, he's probably going to think my best bet is to wait and see out my contract and then go for free, where he can then justify with his agent going to a club and saying, look, you're not paying a fee for me, so let's give me a wage that reflects some of the money you would have spent to buy me. And the only place I could maybe see him, there was talk of Liverpool before. I don't think he's a good enough player for them. Is probably maybe back at Southampton. If they wanted something like that, that's one of the few places I can see him. Or
I could see him going out. I could see him going to Italy. And I know that sounds crazy, but I could see him excelling in a slower league. I just worry with him tactically. Is he good enough to play somewhere else? But maybe that's difficult because we know Wenger's not a massive tactical coach. But I think he's a bit like the Ox, where he just sort of it's stale there and he needs to go. And he's fine for us at the moment as being a Europa League player, but he's nowhere near that first team. He's behind Iwobi easily.
Thing is, I always judge a player how much I love them by how much I think it would hurt me watching them in a rival team's jersey. So, for instance, if Alexis Sanchez, or should I say when Alexis Sanchez goes to Man City, that is going to really hurt me to see him in a Man City jersey. In the same way that when Cesc Fabregas signed back for Chelsea, although he was a snake, there was a part of me that thought that really fucking hurts to see you in a Chelsea jersey. I don't get that with Walcott. I kind of get, do you know what? If I see you in a Liverpool shirt, I'm going to think fucking good riddance. And that sounds horrible. As I put on Twitter, I named my dog after him. So, names on a postcard, what we're going to call poor Theo next, bless him. But we'll move on. Wilshere was another player on the night that got a start. Danny, your opinion on him and how did he do?
He was playing yet again another different position. Although he wears the number 10, he isn't in the trademarked dual 10 role. That isn't really his position. He's more of the, we always say, you've got a defensive midfielder, you've got a get the ball off of people midfielder, which will be your Coquelin. Then you've got a central midfielder that does a bit of everything. Then you've got your more attacking midfielder, which is a Ramsey. Well, he's in the middle of those two, maybe towards the more attacking side of it. But he looked really good. He got an Opta rating of 7.3. Man of the match, of course, was Rob Holding, Big Bob, and his payment for that was being dropped in the next game for someone who couldn't kick a ball if his life depended on it. So I thought Wilshere did good. It's not as good as some of the other games that he'd done, and he got a hell of a wallop in one from someone as well, and then he rolled around for a bit, and I thought, oh no, here we go. But I think that's about the third or the fourth really hard wallop he's had from people, and then just got straight back up again, which is making me think that he probably has got a future at the club, because we're going to talk about the Man City game later, and he's made his comeback for the Premier League as well. I think he has the kind of attitude that Giroud and Walker and Debuchy must get a nod as well, because Debuchy is a first-team player, quality player, international for France, and him and Wilshere showed that what your job should be when you're a first-team quality player playing in a second-string team. You're there to bring the team up, to make the best out of all the other players on there, and show a little bit of leadership, which is something that Walcott of a 6.6 and Giroud of a 6.5 definitely didn't do. And Maitland-Niles got a 7.1 and Nelson got a 7.4. So I was quite happy with Wilshere. It's just sometimes you're not going to be able to do much against a team like Red Star that really didn't come to play the game much, and didn't have much chance to do much. But it's another game under his belt, one step closer to making it to the first team in the Premier League, because he actually gives a fuck, which is something that the other two didn't really seem to. They seem to be like they've been on the naughty step.
Yeah, it's all training. It's all survival. It's minutes played and ankles intact. I'm happy. Move on.
Yeah, exactly. Right, with just a few things to just skip over before we go on to the Man City game. I've got 4 players here, the youngsters that we saw on the night, and there is 4 people here. So I'm going to give each of you a youngster, and I want if you think that youngster is going to make it at the club. So Devon, we'll start with you, and Rhys Nelson.
Absolutely. Probably one of the brighter talents at the club. I still don't know what position he's going to be in, but I think that's something that the future manager will decide. I think he would do great, with the rest of the year playing Carabao Cups and and Europa League games and things of that nature. But his future's bright.
Steve, you've got Maitland-Niles.
I feel sorry for Maitland-Niles. I actually thought that only he and Debussy came out of that Belgrade game, and Rhys Nelson with any credit, really, to be honest, for trying. And he's put in a position which is his unnatural position where he doesn't really like being. But he keeps getting down the line. He keeps cutting the ball back. People don't get on the fucking end of it. But he's, solid, and he's made some good recoveries. I don't see him playing as a left wing back, and I don't see him playing as a defender. He's more of a central midfielder, box-to-box player, maybe a DM. I think his future very much depends on what Wenger does with the midfield and whether his mum comes in and beats up the next director of football or not again. But I think he's got a bright future. Whether it's at Arsenal or not, I don't know. I'd like to see him there because I think he's another one who does what he does play for the shirt.
I agree. Simon, you've got Chris Willock.
I think he's very, very decent. I like him a lot. It's difficult for him. I think out of everyone, playing that central midfield role is probably the toughest of the lot. And he's holding his own a bit. I think physically looks like he gets a bit pushed around a bit, but in terms of what he's like on the ball, I think he's really, really good. And personally, for me, if we were bringing people in, for the team going forward in later games, I'd have him in there ahead of Coquelin. Personally, I think he's much better in possession. He doesn't look overawed, and he's getting so much better from that first. We saw him at the Emirates Cup, we saw him in Australia on the tour, and if you look at him from there to now, he's improving like an absolute amazing rate, so quick. So I think he's definitely got a future at Arsenal, and I think he signed a new deal, might have been last week maybe, so the club obviously feel the same.
There is. I think you are right. Judging all these players, we're seeing Rhys Nelson, of course, when he was first starting breaking through. We saw him in the pre-season. We've seen he scored a few really, really good goals for the youngsters. Now we've seen him break into what can be classed as the first team, but it's not. It's more the B team, but still it's game time. All of these players we're seeing, and I think it's confidence. With every game, with every pass, they are building confidence, and that's what we like to see. And it is nice to see these youngsters. And Danny, complete the quadruple with your favourite striker and mine, Eddie Nketiah.
Oh, wow.
Super Eddie.
How long have I been going on about this, people? Just go and read George Bird's, that's with I think it's a J, to be honest, his name, with on Twitter, George Bird. Everything I know is, which is very little, is from reading his match reports, from reading his website about up and coming. And this bloke, he's only went 18 in May this year, day after Sean's birthday. And he's just magnificent. Last season, he got 15 goals in 16 games for the under-18s while 17 years old. This season, he has got 3 in 7 for the under-23s. Last season, for the under-23s, he got 6 goals in 13 games, of which he only started 5. So that just tells you the measure of the man. And one for you, Gimli, Matt Macy. He's going to make it?
Yeah, from what I saw, he looks a really good goalkeeper, doesn't he? He's been one that we've seen in and around the substitute bench for the last year or so. I didn't know too much about him, but from watching the game, he looked solid. He made that super save as well, didn't he, where he tipped it over the bar? He looked really, really good. And I think you look at the goalkeeping future of our football club, I don't think Ospina's going to make it, and I think he's going to be pissed off to the point that he's going to want to move soon. Cech is, in my opinion, way past his prime. So you'd be looking at the likes of Emilio Martinez and Matt Macy, and although Matt Macy isn't getting the game time, neither is Martinez. So whether we buy someone in, personally, should have thought we should have kept Szczesny at the club. But with what we have left, I think he has every chance of making it to the first team, and I really hope he does, because there's nothing better than players breaking into or our youngsters breaking into the first team, and I'm sure the club think that as well, because it saves them some fucking money.
Also, sooner rather than later too, because Petr Cech is, okay, that's something we'll talk about.
Yeah. Exactly. Right then. Next, we go to Manchester and our 3-1 loss to City. Some will say we got off lightly. Others will say we put in a good account of ourselves and City were just too good on the day. Steve, we're going to do this one, you as hosting this, because you've made comprehensive notes. I was driving back from Oxford at the time, so I'm going to leave this in your hands. So where do you stand on the City game, and over to you?
Right, well, I don't think there's any point being vitriolic or bitter or ranting. I think you have to say quite clearly that City are the in-team form in the league. They are unbeaten. Their passing and their movement is sublime, and they're a way better team than we are. And we were lucky on the day. Czech made a couple of good saves. It could have been a lot more. We had a couple of usual histrionic fucking around in our own area moments where that 3-1 could have easily been 6-1. And the fact is that we didn't help ourselves try and even step up to the bottom rung of where City are, because they're way ahead of us, by the way we set up, by the people we chose to play, in the positions we chose to play them in. And also as well by the way some of those people performed on the pitch or didn't perform. And I think the thing which probably shocked most people was the selection of Coquelin at centre-back. And also Wenger saying, well, you know, there's no difference between a centre-back and a DM. Well, clearly there is, and we can prove that. I can prove that. We'll come to that in a minute. But, you know, that didn't work out. Coquelin's passing was fucking horrific. Constantly caught out of position. Yes, he made 4 tackles. Yes, he made the clearance. But he had the worst passing accuracy of all the Arsenal players on the pitch, and way off everybody else. You know, Kos had 88%, Nacho had 86%, Hector had 86%, Said Kolasinac had 87%, Koch had 58%. So, you know, you look at that and you think to yourself, well, actually, am I being unfair here? So I went and looked at his heat map, and you click on the heat maps and it shows you that Koscielny was playing mainly out on the right. And there was a big, vivid green patch where Kos was dealing with people in isolated incidents out on the right. And then you click on Nacho, and there's Nacho out to the left, a great big green patch where Nacho was out there allegedly dealing with people and giving away penalties to Sterling. It was a bit divey. And then you click Coquelin, and no green appears. It's all cold blue. And it's in the middle of the pitch, but it's not in the middle of Nacho or Koscielny. It's where the DM position should be. And that was the problem with his whole performance. Not only was he in the wrong position, he was in his usual position, it's the CB position. He wasn't where he could read the game. He wasn't where he could step in and intercept. He wasn't where he could actually put tackles in and make effect. And also his passing, which should have been short-range passing to Xhaka or to Ramsey or to the other defenders, was so piss poor. He was actually creating fucking chances and turnovers for City. So here's a question to Simon. Why would you play 3 centre-backs when you've got Koscielny and Nacho fit, who could play as a 2, and you've got Said Kolasinac and you've got Hector Bellerin, your first choice backs? Why wouldn't you play a flat back 4 and put an extra and use the extra man in midfield when you know you're playing the best passing team in the league?
Very, very good question, Steve. And it's something probably only Wenger can answer, isn't it? But for me, it wasn't so much the playing the 3 at the back, because I can understand that from the rationale of, you know, this is the way we've played all season, and he obviously wanted to keep that in place. And I think as well, obviously Nacho's played in a 2 of a back 4 before, but I think Wenger thinks Nacho's much better in a 3 of a back 3 when he plays on that left side rather than having 2 at the back. But I touched on it briefly when we talk about Red Star. I just don't understand why El Nene didn't play centre half in the middle of that back 3 like he did against Red Star, and he was good. You know, Coquelin played the same amount of minutes that night. So why on earth has he gone for Coquelin, who's not played a minute all season at centre back, over El Nene, who's played there in Europa League games? He played him there in pre-season. He spoke in the programme ahead of the Red Star game, Wenger saying how great El Nene is at centre back, and we'll see him there a lot more. And then it comes to the Man City game, he suddenly goes, "Oh no, I'm going to put Coquelin there." I mean, that for me just it almost smacked of. I wonder whether Wenger was thinking, I need to try and do something different here,
not making a gamble. Because there's another weird thing that the week before, when after he spoke about El Neni in the program, like you just said, he also said the same thing about Debussy. That he's got a life as a CB because he's a really good jumper and an educator the ball.
Yeah, so I'd have preferred Debussy there instead of Coquelin as well, because I thought Debussy, like you said, was good against Red Star. I'd have preferred him to throw. And the last time we won an away game in these, the top six, or the big six as it's called, was January 2015. That Man City game, we'll remember it, 2-0, Francis Coquelin played holding midfielder, and it was a great game. And before this Man City game, in the press conference, someone went to Wenger, you've got the blueprint of how you beat Man City in that big game. This is the last time we won a league game once we beat them in the FA Cup. The last time we won a league game away from one of the big six. They go, you've got that blueprint. When we went there, January 2015, Coquelin, holding midfielder, we sat deep, we soaked it up, and we got the win. And Wenger sort of went, well, obviously we have that blueprint, but we need to go there and attack. We need to, need to take them on. And I think with Wenger is that this idea of shutting up shop and almost Mourinhoing it to an extent is not something he's ever really comfortable with. And I think we've realised now that game in January where we went there with Coquelin and we dug it out was an anomaly. It wasn't the norm.
But let's be honest about this game, though. I mean, yes, City has a great lineup and a $1 billion bench, but the most important thing that I saw from the game was they didn't play beautiful football. They knocked it over the top, ran through, passed it once, and scored. It wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't any. We were just out of position, lost, confused, not talking, not communicating. They lumped the ball over the top, ran in the back, passed once, and scored.
Yeah, but it's not hard. But that's what comes from the setup, and this is what we're talking about. This idea that Wenger doesn't like locking up shop is bullshit, because he's done it on loads of occasions. He did it at Wembley against Man United and won the FA Cup in a penalty shootout. The fact is that if you're going to go and play a team that can pass like they can, and Kevin De Bruyne was in the interview afterwards, he was saying, we're not allowed to do back heels, we're not allowed to do flicks, just keep it simple. He said, if you can keep the ball and move people around, the spaces open up. Well, we didn't shut any spaces off. They were always fucking open. So exactly what you just described, Devon, it if you like, made it easy for them to play at a low level. I don't even think they got out of second, to be honest.
Right, and to me they looked like it was easy, and they knew that they always had it. And granted, there were decisions that went wrong, and we'll get into that later. But at no point in time, aside from the fact that Lacazette scored an amazing goal, was there ever really any joy. Our passing was sideways and backwards. It's almost as though we have some players in the squad that are allergic to a forward ball. You look at Xhaka, and I swear, if the ball is on his non-dominant foot, it's as good as lost, or as good. We had the ball in the attacking third on several instances. I was watching the game with my wife, and I pointed out to her, I was like, watch, there will be no decisiveness. We'll pass it backwards, and then we'll turn the ball over. And it was like I was Nostradamus, because it was like Alexis drives in, turns the ball over. Or, Ozil drives the ball in, there's nobody to pass to, he passes it backwards, Xhaka passes the ball backwards, and suddenly we're starting back at Koscielny. And it's maddening. This used to be a beautiful flowing team that even as recent as, the Jack goal at Norwich, it was inspiring football to watch. And now it's just crap. There's no who in it. You have your big signing that, like everybody said, the guy who actually wants to wear the shirt, who came here. We spent, club record money to bring him in, and you don't start him against Liverpool, and you don't start him against Man City away. What statement does that make?
Well, let's leave that bit for a minute, because that's a completely separate issue. But go back to the setup. If you look at what we had in midfield, we had two players in midfield, and you've got Hector Bellerin, who's basically imitating Theo Walcott, running up the wing, passing inside, or doing a shit cross to someone who's not there. He looks completely fucking demoralised, disinterested. And if Barcelona could winkle him out of the club, he'd be off like fucking tomorrow, I reckon.
If Barcelona B could wrinkle him off the club, he would go.
Yeah, but my point is that our midfield is insipid. It's weak physically. It's got no bottle, and the team's got no pace. We're crabbing it all the time. The reason why we struggled against Red Star Belgrade is because there's no movement up front. you've got no movement up front for a very good reason. Either you're playing Giroud and he just stands there, or you've got a situation where you're not playing Lacazette and you've got Alexis Sanchez, who's supposed to be in the middle, but he's so badly ill-disciplined positionally. He's dropping deep, he's appearing out on the left, he's appearing out on the right, he's in Ozil's position constantly, and he constantly loses the ball. And this is what fucking gets me. I think this is what infuriated me the most, is that we've talked in the past about how Wenger doesn't like data and about how he doesn't like all this analysis. And it's very clear that the players either don't look at the stuff our video coaches prepare, or Wenger doesn't even send them it. Because 1 minute, 34 seconds into that game, Sanchez has lost the ball and they're on a breakaway and they nearly scored.
Yes, and it went right after. That was Sterling's shot up on the side corner.
But the point is, look at the position of all the Arsenal players when Sanchez had got the ball, and every single fucking centre half was in City's half. Why? Why are you set up like that? You know, and there's other issues with the midfield. There's a GIF going around on Twitter called Spanish Dave Goes for a Walk, and it's David Da Silva walking through our midfield. He dribbles up the pitch, then he dribbles back. He goes round in a circle and mazes round 7 Arsenal players. And not one of them even goes near him or tries to tackle him. And we've got people running alongside opponents, escorting them to the goal area, and they're not fucking tackling them.
I've noticed that too. Our defenders, anytime their attackers would challenge, they just back up and back up and back up, and they're backing up into the 6-yard box. At some point in time, you've got to stop the fucking ball. It's so, like you said, there's no organization. The zonal marking scheme doesn't work. We don't know. You call it a back 3. It's sometimes a back 5. It's just hard to watch. That's really what it is. And when you look at a team like City, who everybody wants to talk about the money, but is Otamendi a world beater? Is John Stones a world beater? I mean, we're talking about a team that was gettable. We could have put goals past this team, and we didn't. And
there were goals there for us, that's for certain. Simon, on the subject of the players that City have got, a lot of people have said things like Guardiola's put such an improvement into those players. Look how much they've improved individually, improved as a unit. As a journalist, what do you hear from the other journos out there in, journo world about Guardiola's prowess in developing players, as a team unit?
I think obviously when he came in, the main thing was that they hit the ground running so quickly. And obviously we had a similar thing last season where they had that incredible run, and obviously they went 10, 11, 12 games. I think they started winning, and then everyone thought they're going to walk the league last season. But a lot of people were sort of saying then that Guardiola was dampening this idea of, he basically wasn't actually that happy last season, even when they had that amazing start, that his ideas weren't being translated across. And he had the same issue when he was at Bayern Munich. Obviously they had a good first season, but it normally takes him a sort of year to 18 months to get people to fully buy into their ideas. And some players might not ever get it. He's talked about this before, the situation at Bayern Munich with Ribéry, where he was insistent that Ribéry could play as sort of a central striker, where he'd have more space than being out wide. He wouldn't have the touchline to deal with. They'd have all this space, a bit like Messi. He could pull off the centre back. He could pick in his holes. And he was drilling this idea into Ribéry, and Ribéry just didn't get it. And the idea gave up. And I think Guardiola has that with certain players, that if they don't get the idea and the concept after about a year, 18 months, he gets rid of them. And I think now the main thing that he's got through is the defence seems so much better than last season. Even Otamendi looks a better player, looks more drilled. John Stones looks a much better player. Watching the Arsenal game, the main thing I was watching Man City was we sort of tried this press, which I think we'll talk about in a bit, that Lee Dixon spoke fantastically on 5 Live about, but we tried sporadically to sort of press the Man City defenders, mainly Sanchez, going around like a lunatic. And every time John Stones, knocked it past him with ease. And I think we're now seeing the Guardiola team that he wanted near enough at its peak. And obviously we were disappointed with the game, the fact that the David Silva goal was so clearly offside. You got to play to the whistle. The penalty, for me, it's a penalty. I know it's soft, but the City were comfortably ahead of us, and they're comfortably ahead of everyone by a long way. That's the thing, I think.
But Simon, I was more distraught with the first goal, and I'm sorry to interrupt because, like I just posted in the chat box, Jordan Pickford makes that save. Fraser Forster makes that save.
I thought that I didn't know if I was being harsh because when I first watched it, I thought, oh God, maybe he's got to get down there, and I don't know. I mean, I see there's put in the chat box as well about we check not saving any pens. We've given away more pens than anyone since the start of last season. And the Monreal one sort of summed up for me. It's not even like a horrendous tackle. It's just so clumsy and like almost naive. It's like the sort of tackle a centre forward would make, where Monreal's gone absolutely hurtling in there, and he's turning around going, "Oh, what have we done wrong?" Well, you've just sprinted full pelt into a winger who's going in on goal, and it's just schoolboy defending. But I mean, we speak about Cech before, but Ospina's not much better, and we've moaned that we should never have sold Chesney, but. Yeah, I don't know. Do people think he could have saved that Cech?
Yes.
I do, and I think Szczęsny would have saved it. I think he would have caught it. And this is the problem for me. I think that the chickens now are coming home to roost of Wenger. That going back to the question I posed, and before we move on to Lacazette and the press, I don't want to get into referees' decisions because I think if they didn't score that first goal, they would have gone on and scored another one anyway because we were that bad and left so much space open. We made it that easy for them, and they were so much better. They would have still won. But why is Wenger still persisting in a game like that with a system? What's more important, the system or 3 points? If you've got if you can close up shop and you can play 4 at the back, which the players are more comfortable with, and you haven't got the people to play 3 at the back, why risk putting Coquelin in there when you could have him either A in midfield or you could have someone else as making the 3 in midfield? What's more important, getting out of the Etihad with a point or getting bashed up and season over effectively?
The thing is, Steve, we know that Arsene Wenger can go to the Etihad and put out a team that tactically can compete with Man City. We did it a few years back when we had Santi Cazorla when he run the show, and they didn't necessarily play attacking football, but they were tight, they were solid, everyone had a job, they stuck to it, and they went away and they got a result. I'm saying, I know that's a completely different Man City side to the side that's there now, but is it a case that we haven't got the players to be able to, has the quality of players gone down? I mean, to be honest, right, and the picture of the day for me came at the final whistle, and it was taken from the tunnel cam, and it was Alexis and Ozil walking down the tunnel behind Guardiola, and I thought, they don't care. I don't think either of them really give a fuck anymore. I think they're just there to...
I understand that. We're coming to that in a minute, but let's not detract from the key point here. Arsene Wenger clearly thought that his system, retaining his system, was more important than solidifying the team and getting points, in my opinion.
At the expense, his system over the expense of player comfort always. But
he's done that because he thinks that's the way to win. He's not done that. He's obviously made an error there, but he's done that in good faith. Obviously,
okay. So if he's done that, this moves on to the next point. Why then do you pick a player who's scored in nearly every game he's played in? Why do you drop him over a player who's in shit form, who looks disinterested, and who's been giving the ball away non-stop and is so tactically indisciplined? It's almost incredible, actually, that an obsessive positional coach like Guardiola even wants to consider signing him, Sanchez. So let's move on to that now.
I agree. He's maddening. He's a maddening player.
Right, one at a time. Simon first.
When he wasn't playing, obviously Lacazette. I mean, the one time we've seen, we'll talk about whether Sanchez should play or not, but the one time we saw Ozil, Sanchez, and Lacazette play together, admittedly it was a bad Everton team, but they played fantastic. They were setting goals up for each other. They all got on the score sheet, and he hasn't played it again since. And I think for Lacazette, we touched this. He's club record signing over £50 million, and Ian Wright on Match the Other Day was saying, if that was him, he'd be knocking on Wenger's door on Monday morning going, look, Sanchez is in the team here. He doesn't want to be here. He won't sign a new contract. He wants to go and play for the team we were playing against. I'm your big money signing, and I'm on the bench. Like, is there a problem with me? Do you not like me? And that's what it almost felt like. And then Lacazette comes on and scores. And for me, I could have understood not playing Lacazette if he didn't play Lacazette and he played El Nene and Coquelin or something, and he said, right, I'm going to play 3-5-2 instead of 3-4-3. I'm going to pack another midfielder in there, look Lacazette, so I'm not playing you because I want to solidify this defence. But he didn't do that. He didn't play Lacazette, and he played Iwobi instead, essentially, because he moved Sanchez up to the top. And that, for me, the only reason that, looking back on it, the only reason he can justify it is he must say, well, I can't trust Lacazette defensively, so I played Iwobi instead. But my viewpoint would be, is Lacazette really that much worse defensively than Sanchez and Ozil? Or is it a power play to still try and think, oh, maybe we can keep them? You know, I've spoken about Ozil and Sanchez before. I would have sold them in the summer and got rid of them because I'm of the viewpoint, if you don't want to play for Arsenal, we'll get someone else because there's plenty of other players you want to play there. But that, for me, I think was the biggest tactical mistake. I know we spoke about Coquelin centre-back, but not playing Lacazette was huge. And it's now going to be a massive question whether he plays in the derby. So,
what do you think?
Why would he not play? That just makes no sense to me. And I've said it all before. You guys know I'm one of the biggest Mesut Ozil defenders in the world because I love the way that he plays for Germany. I want to see us put a structure around him like that and use him as a number 10, but we just don't. So it's do I think that they care? I think sometimes they care about themselves and they have to perform because there's a lot that was on. I mean, with Chile not making the World Cup, I really think Sanchez is just despondent, and he's always been a bit of a prick. But with a player like Mesut Ozil, it's so sad to me because he's such a talent. He really is. And if we played him as a 10, as the best number 10 in the world that he could be, and did it with Lacazette and put a system around those two, I think that you could see some great things, but you're just not going to because of players, unfortunately, like Aaron Ramsey and these shoehorn fits into positions, like you said, to salvage a system. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but it is what it is. And we're going to lose 2 world-class players because of it, and we look like a laughingstock to the other world-class players that we want to bring in because we don't play our world-class players, and I don't know.
If you, I saw something an Arsenal fan wrote on Twitter today. I couldn't believe it. He said that a lot of Arsenal fans have noticed that Lacazette can't adjust to the physicality and the speed of the Premiership. And I just burst out laughing when I read that. I thought, fucking hell, this guy's come on and he's scored a header from nothing in the first minute against Everton. He scored goals out of nothing. All the goals he's made are where the ball's actually been served up to him properly, where we've used his pace and his ability to beat defenders and get goal side and smash the ball in past keepers. He's a great header of a ball. He's got a long range shot on him. He's a great penalty taker. We're not using him to see his strengths because the system that we've got, allegedly to benefit Ozil and Sanchez, is not working. But as Simon says, if you've got 2 people that don't want to play for Arsenal and they're not bothering, and it seems to me like Sanchez couldn't give an absolute monkey's rat's ass on Sunday, you have to ask why he's not playing. It's absolutely unbelievable. But can we just now move on to if you like, Arsenal off the ball? And I'll go back to Spanish Dave goes for a walk, or as Jason Davis refers to it, come into the Garden Mord, where the opposition take little walks through our midfield from front to back to get to our centre-halves and terrorise them and score. Lee Dixon said Arsenal's problems are unfixable. On their day going forward and attacking, they can beat anyone. But defensively, and when they don't have the ball, they're clueless. And Wenger's engineered a thing where Arsenal don't know what they're doing without the ball, and it's unfixable until Wenger leaves. What do people think?
I 100% agree. I watched our transitional, because in America we break the field into thirds. The defensive third, the midfield third, and the attacking third. Our urgency, our sense of direction, our just sense of attack in the offensive third is non-existent. Like we get the ball and nobody knows what to do. If somebody's not making a hero run, if it's not Alex Iwobi trying to beat 7 defenders to take a wild shot, it's almost as though we we're just going to pass. We're just going to try to win the most passes completed in a tight space award, because nobody really wants to score. And if they do, it's Sanchez, and he's going to turn the ball over.
Yeah, I mean, you can't argue what Dixon says. I think in the actual clip on the radio, there's him and Ian Wright talking about it. And I'll go back to what Simon was saying earlier on. But if you're going to play Alexis, if he's going to signal press, the rest of the team have got to understand that. They've got to know what press means. So if you look at two other, and Simon will help me out here, if you look at, say, 2 or 3 other pressing teams, and Arsenal aren't a pressing team in the Premiership. If you look at, say, Leicester under Ranieri, if you look at, I hate to say this, Middlesex under Pochettino, and you look at Liverpool under the yellow teeth twat, the only one out of those that's got a really successful press, which is consistent, is Tottenham. They know when to do it. They know when not to do it. When they do it, they all do it. When they don't all do it, they all stand off. Leicester used to be able to do it, but then they lost Drinkwater and Kante, so they can't do it now. But Arsenal just, they don't seem to know what they're doing, do they, Simon?
I think that the main thing is if you're going to play a pressing game, it takes so long to drill it and get it right. And we've obviously seen with Spurs under Pochettino, as painful it is, it's taken them a good few years with the same players, working with them, week in, week out, and getting it right. And the difficulty for Arsenal and Wenger is obviously the same with any Champions League club. And it's why someone like Antonio Conte struggles now, because you don't get the full week like you do if you're not a Champions League club or if you're not a European club, where you get a full week and you can work on something defensively. And it just felt odd for Arsenal trying to do this pressing system against a team like Man City, which we're not renowned for being a great pressing team. And as Dixon spoke about, the main thing is understanding. I mean, everyone can run and hurt around on the ball and press all the time. And I think everyone has this opinion of when a team presses, it's just them running around like with the Klopp team, sort of heavy metal football and going hell for leather. But in reality, it's about knowing when to press and when not to press. And Arsenal's downfall.
Absolutely.
Arsenal's downfall was pressing when you don't need to press, when you need to leave it. And that's what Dixon was saying, on 5 Live, that the difficulty of drilling that into a team, because it's almost harder, especially if you're a player and if you're like Sanchez, you're hungry, you want the ball, to try and restrain yourself and not go for it is almost more hard. And that was, for me, is why I didn't understand. We've never been a pressing team, and suddenly Wenger's decided, right, I'm going to play Coquelin centre back. I'm not going to play my star striker. I'm going to pressing. And it felt almost a bit like a guy, he's in a casino at 3 a.m. He's absolutely down to his last chips. He's back to the wall. He's trying something completely different because he wants to. And that felt a bit like that with Wenger, with what he's doing there.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's, and as we said earlier, he could have just thought to himself, do you know what? Fuck this system. I'm going to play 4 at the back. I'll lock up shop. I'll walk out of here with a point that will get the media off my case, and I won't have all this descending doom and bollocks, and then onto the derby. Go from there. But it is a very interesting point, because if you're doing that high press, one of the reasons why Liverpool's fails and why Tottenham's doesn't, there's 2 factors. One is that Liverpool didn't know when to not press, so they pressed so much and expended so much energy that by 55 minutes they were fucked. Tottenham know when to press and when to not press, but they're also a lot fitter than everybody else because they want to play that closing down game. So they're actually, what they're doing is they're not only learning to press and not press, but learning when to expend energy and not expend energy. And this brings us on nicely to Iwobi, because you've got Iwobi, who is, is he 20 years old? He's a big guy. And every game he plays consistently, at 55 minutes, he's absolutely fucked. Wiped out. Nothing left in the bin. And for me, that's worrying, that a 20-year-old has just played 45 minutes of football. He's just had 15 minutes half-time rest, and he's knackered. And he's never been the most defence-minded person. And yet he sat in front of Kolasinac, who's a strong player. But Kolasinac had a really bad game, I thought, on Sunday. And one of the things I put that down to was Iwobi exposing him. Danny's gone very quiet there. Let's give Danny a quick jolt with the Bergkamp Wonderland taser. What did you think of this idea of playing Iwobi on the left, Dan?
Oh, I'm on every week, so I love hearing when you get three people that know what they're on about explaining stuff, because me and Gimli just make funny noises and do stuff like that. Iwobi, you've got to look at the AOL worked. We saw against Everton, a shit team, that they had looked superb. The next game, they looked pretty well. And so then, like Simon was saying with what Wenger wanted to do with the pressing, with Coquelin, it's worked with playing El Neni at centre-back. Well, I look at that in the old Championship manager days, where you could have a player who played in front of the back two, but behind the midfield two, called the anchor, and he'd come out and pass the ball around. Now, Coquelin can't do that. Coquelin is a player that can get the ball off you, but he's no good at passing. If you'd have played El Neni there, but I think Wenger's thinking was, Coquelin can tackle. Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean you can play him there. And then, like you're saying with the Iwobi thing, normally with players, we've seen in the past players from Nigeria where they come over here and they go, oh yeah, my son with the moustache and the beard, he's only 7. Well, Iwobi came over here when he was 4. So then there is a genuine thing about people from Nigerian place like that coming over, like the legendary Freddie Adu. He was probably 10 years older than what he said he was, and it's not that with Iwobi, because I reckon he genuinely is only just looking out. He genuinely is only 21 years old. I'd like to know if anybody is a Nigeria fan, if they've been watching Nigeria play, because he's played 11 games for Nigeria. Does he do the same thing for Nigeria? Because he's had, I think he scored the goal in the qualifying from the African region, scored the goal which got them through to the World Cup. Now, I think that was late. Go on.
Doesn't he play more of a striker role for them?
No idea. Never.
He plays more of a number 10, doesn't he?
Yeah. He doesn't stray as much. They play a very, very tight system. I'm not a huge Super Eagles watcher, but I have watched a couple of their games. They play a very tight system, and he tends to stick in the center. He doesn't roam a lot. I think he's another player that I was going to ask when we went off this tangent. Like, what position does he play?
Left wing, I suppose, would be mine that he's best at.
You think? Well, for Nigeria, he's a number 10.
I think if he's not going to play up front, then he needs to do some serious work in the gym to reshape his body, because he's carrying way too much upper body muscle and it's taking his pace away, and his weight is keeping his stamina down. So if he's fucked at 55 minutes, the problem is really, would you play him as a centre forward? Can he play with his back to goal? We don't know. We've never seen it.
I think he was a 10 for the youth teams. He played as like an attacking mid.
Would he be good in a 4-4-2 with Lacazette?
I don't think Wenger's ever going to go back to that. But
I think he's another one. I think he's another one who doesn't really suit the 3-4-3. Iwobi. I don't really like him in those two behind the front man.
Could he be a Giroud replacement though? See, that's in growing into a central striker role. Could he be? Is that a project that you could see going down? Because maybe that's why he's not cutting weight and looking to play more minutes. I could see him as a central striker, but I don't see him as the central striker for Arsenal Football Club. I don't think that's not going to get us back to where we all know we should be.
But Steve's been saying for years about why he just seems incapable of lasting long. Just looking at the game where he did score for Nigeria against Zambia, I think he came on in the 66th minute, and so he played 24 minutes and he played left wing and scored the goal. Game before that, striker. Game before that, left wing, then striker, left wing, and he's got in his last few games he's got 2 goals and 1 assist. So. Maybe I should ask Giles, because Giles is a bit of an expert when it comes to African football, he's told me. But as to why he does it, I've got no idea. And it is getting quite annoying, because I think it might just be a little bit of a case of, I think he's one of Wenger's favourites. So he's going to keep on playing him, like Welbeck and like Walcott. 3 people that don't really fit into the system.
He'll burn him out. I mean, I agree with that. And I think also as well that he doesn't manage his energy well, and he doesn't. I saw recently him saying, "I've got to look more at my defensive side." If I was him beside Kolasinac behind me, I would fucking start defending, because there's going to come a time where Said's going to pick him up by his bollocks and have words, because he's not covering his man. But this brings us on. I mean, really, we can, if you like, close off the City bit here, and we'll go back to Gim. But it brings us on to a subject which I call the state of the squad. I don't think we deserve to get anything out of the City game. I don't think we set up to get anything out of the City game. We were fucking awful off the ball. City are way ahead of us. They're the better team. The referee was a twat. Nacho was a twat, but it wouldn't have mattered anyway because they still would have scored more goals than us and beaten us. So I think we just have to accept that and just we're not as good as we used to be. The manager is as he is, and until he goes, certain departments and things are not going to change. And I'm presuming that Simon and Devon and the rest of you agree with that.
I think the one thing that I've seen, maybe not so much, yes, so much this season, but more this season, is I think as an Arsenal fan, you go away to the big clubs and you think maybe living in the past, but we might be able to get something here today. I will tell you for now, that Man City game, I didn't even expect to get anything. I was sat there from the point of view, do you know what? If we lose by anything less than 5 goals, then do you know what? I can deal with it. And that shouldn't be acceptable as an Arsenal fan. You shouldn't have to think, do you know what? They could completely outplay us. I think we could all agree a team like Arsenal should be putting up a game against anyone, whether it's a team of calibre of Man City or Chelsea or Man United. I just think it's sad the way that we go into these games now and there's almost do you know what, if we don't get humped here today, and I saw it plenty of times on Twitter, I saw so many accounts go, do you know what, I'd be happy if it was only 2-0, I'd be happy. Plenty of people said they were hiding behind their sofas. And
people are still hurt by the loss to Stoke. You've got to understand, this is not getting better. It's not getting better.
I think it comes back to the fact of, and you'll appreciate this as an American, Devon, people now have got they know what Stan Kroenke is about, and they can see what Wenger's how he's being allowed to operate, and people are just like, their expectations are gone, and they're like trying to sort of like damage limitation to their psyche,
But Steve,
absolutely.
Can I come in there a second as well? But you can forgive the fans for being so lackluster with Arsenal when you've got reports coming out in the past. And I can't remember which board member it was or whoever it was. Someone came out this week and said that they weren't worried about, and it was after the Man City game, they said they weren't worried about losing the away games. It's like, what kind of fucking mentality is that?
That was an old quote. But I think this brings us on nicely to what I call the state of the squad. And the reason why I want to talk about it is Devon raised it earlier on. You've got Alexis Sanchez and Mesut Ozil are gone. They're either going to be sold in January or they're gone in the summer. So that's 2 world-class players down. And these are players who are not British. Don't kid yourself, there aren't WhatsApp groups of players out there. People who might be considering joining Arsenal who aren't French, might WhatsApp Sanchez or might WhatsApp Ozil and say, why did you leave Arsenal? And when they find out, that's the fucking end of their agent's interest in our club, if there is any interest. Now, look at the state of our squad. People over 30, Cazorla, Koscielny, Pert Mertesacker, Olivier Giroud. That's 4 players. One of those is a key player. He's the club vice captain.
And Monreal.
And it's Monreal as well, sorry.
Debuchy.
Yeah, but he's a fringe player. He's our Winston Bogart. As soon as his contract's up, he's gone. Then you've got this either need to go or probably want to go group. Coquelin's in the need to go group in my book. Not good enough.
Shaka.
No, I'll come back. There's no way they're going to sell him. But then you've got Theo Walcott. He's of no use to the club. Not interested. Doesn't have any ambition. Quite happy to play in the B team or be on the bench. And then there's the question of Jack Wilshere. Is Jack Wilshere pulling up trees? Should he really have been the standout player against Red Star Belgrade? Because he fucking wasn't. He came on against City. Yeah, he had a few good passes. He put himself about a bit.
But he was playing very deep, though, wasn't he?
Yeah. But will he stay at Arsenal? Is he going to be? Is he going to start every fucking game? No, he's not, because very likely in the summer they're going to find someone to play with Xhaka who can play with him properly, so that he doesn't look such an arse.
If Xhaka stays,
I think he will stay.
Hopefully.
But I think Jack will go. So now we've got there. So in our over 30s list, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players. You've got plus Walcott and Cock, that's 7. Possibly Jack, that's 8. Anybody else think of any players that might want to fuck off? Ruins can't be asked.
Ospina,
yeah.
Isn't Ramsey running out very shortly as well? And I don't know about you guys, season. But Aaron Ramsey strikes me as the kind of player that if he gets an offer from a foreign team, I think he'd go. I really do.
Oh, he'd be.
I think Giroud might go after the World Cup as well, I think.
Hector Bellerin.
Yeah, well, what about Mustafi as well? He didn't want to be here.
He wants to leave.
Wenger didn't want him and they changed his mind. So.
He was going to Inter Milan, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And it's according to Wiki, at the end of next season, Welbeck, Ramsey, Walcott, Ospina, Monreal, Giroud, Debuchy, and Petr Cech's contracts expire.
And Chuba Akpom.
I'd ignored that, and the Jeff. Yeah, the Jeff to that as well.
I mean, if you look at the state of that, I mean, there's potentially 10 players we might need to replace there.
Yeah.
And plus also the fact that if Ospina goes, that leaves like us with Cech as a first team goalkeeping option with next to no backup, bar Dean Macy or the Argentinian bloke.
But hasn't he come out in the past and said that he doesn't believe in signing more than 3 players in a transfer window?
Yeah, but he's also come back out in the past and said that he doesn't like signing people over 30 on long-term contracts. He made Dennis play fucking match by match. He wouldn't give Perez a fucking further contract, but he's allowing Giroud to fucking play on.
Damon was another. Sol Campbell is another one who left.
That's the biggest thing for me. I mean, in all of this, and we can talk short term. I think we all pretty much know here. Alexis Sanchez is definitely gone, and Ozil's heart doesn't seem in it, and he looks like to go. But you look at the other players. I mean, we have a manager that doesn't, and I think it's fair to say he doesn't like to spend money. With the Ozil transfer, he was pushed into that one. We don't know about Lacazette. Alexis Sanchez, he really effectively, for what he was, he got him super cheap. He's not someone that likes to spend money. There are big changes that need to be made, and this is board aside, but with the playing staff. And I look towards next season and the season after that. If you're not making Champions League, if you're not ripping up trees in the league, you've got players that are wanting to leave. And who knows the horror stories that have come out of Arsenal? European football has always been come to Arsenal, you'll get European football. We don't necessarily have Champions League football anymore. And
luckily we're expected, for us, apart from Man City, everyone else is shit.
But we're expected to be able to bring in these players with a manager that doesn't like spending money, B, a manager that said that he doesn't like signing loads of players in a transfer window, C, there are loads of players going. I have absolutely no faith in the current system, right, playing staff aside, that the problems are going to be rectified. I really don't, and I can see us. I see us being and going in the same lines as Everton. I really do. I don't see any positives at the moment.
Can I raise another point? Is the fact that if you were, let's say, a French player who was a midfield good player like Seri, for example,
Fakir,
yeah, or any of those, why would you even consider Arsenal? You would probably ring up and talk to Lacazette and find out that he's fucking highly unamused, that he feels that even Giroud's in the queue in front of him, that Wenger's outdated, out of touch, he's a control freak, and he was sold a story maybe that wasn't true, and then you're going to hear whispers from like Sanchez and other players that have left, and this is the problem. Who's going to come and sign for a club with a manager who actually is a big question mark over his future?
Well, let me flip that on you, Steve. Who would say positive words right now? What players outside of Mertesacker would come out and give a glowing review of the situation at Arsenal or their situation at Arsenal? I'm talking about players that get game time.
I was just going to say Theo Walcott because he gets $150 a week for fucking around, but obviously that doesn't count. No, you're right. A lot of coffee makers. Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure that was a euphemism for something, actually. You know, I agree with you, and I seriously think Arsenal have got a massive problem in the transfer market now.
But also, guys, do you not think that there's massive problems when you've got players coming out like Thierry Henry constantly ridiculing Arsene Wenger? You've got Robert Perez, who's giving tidbits from the players that are still there, like he said about Mesut Ozil and how he's feeling. You've got other players like Ian Wright coming out. You got, was it Lee Dixon this week that said Arsenal's broken? You've got George Graham that said,
Stuff with Vieira.
Yeah,
Vieira
but something has to be done.
Invite Wenger.
But Graham said, you've had your time now, move on, give it to someone else. I see the problem being with Arsenal now, that even if Arsene Wenger left tomorrow, the problems that he's created within the club, within the playing staff, don't take the next manager to fix it over a season. The man that comes in after Arsene Wenger has to be given enough time to fix it. But in the state of affairs, will he get the time to fix it? Because it's a fucking massive job. It's a massive job.
But again, you're forgetting one thing. Arsenal's not Everton. Arsenal's not West Brom. You know, fact is this: if Kroenke fucking drops down fucking dead, fingers crossed. I shouldn't wish that on anybody, but he's
touch wood. I'm touching wood.
As long as you're not touching cloth at the same time.
No.
And his son takes over, or Kroenke gets a bee's nest up his arse, and he says to Wenger, right, that's it. You one Champions League pass, that's enough. You're not doing it a second time, because we ain't going to get it this year, and we ain't winning the Europa League, I'll tell you that. But
not when Bayern comes into our group.
No, we're not winning. You get Atletico Madrid and Dortmund dropping in there. But, you know, the point is this, that if he does do that, this reminds me very much of the end of Terry Neal. You know, there was a lot of bullshit, blaming the players. Then there was blaming the fans. Then the fans got a group up called Arsenal Fans Action Group, which was to get rid of Neal. There were protests outside the stadium, not in the games. After the games, Neal was booed and basically... the board tolerated it for quite a while until he got hammered 5-1 at West Ham, and eventually got fired. And the next bloke in was a caretaker manager. It was Don Howe for a while, and he did have to steady the ship and, you know, get all defensive and change the way we play and sit there and wait until they got the next manager in. And of course, the next manager in was George Graham. It was George Graham. So, you know, it's not. When this, my biggest problem is not when it happens, it's are this board qualified enough to actually find someone decent enough to do the fucking job and not get some spastic in. And this might sound outrageous. At the moment, I would take, you know, a caretaker manager with Tony Pulis to sort the fucking defence out. At least we'd stop fucking losing games.
I think basic footballing problems. We are Arsenal do not excel at the basics. We make the basics look difficult. I don't think that the next manager that comes in, regardless whoever it is, will fix Arsenal Football Club as a whole. I think we are maybe 2-3 managers down the line before we start to see some kind of... Yeah, exactly. Again, but like United...
But United we're not going to chuck money at it like they did.
Exactly. They chucked a shitload of money at the managers.
He wants more.
Exactly. So, and Arsenal aren't gonna print checks off and
but I have my dream guy. I have my dream guy that I think could actually fix it, and I don't think he would leave his situation. But there's two coaches that I think could fix it, and one of them is Jardim, and the other one is Yogi Low. And
Yogi, you tweet that.
Yeah, I mean Yogi Low is. I agree. I think that we completely missed the boat when Guardiola wanted to come here. But I've said all along, and you guys know that follow me on Twitter, the perfect time for Wenger to leave was the final whistle after the whole victory in the FA Cup. And granted, we went on and won another one, but breaking the trophy streak, you know, the trophyless streak right there, coming back in the fashion that we did, scoring, you know, late with the Ramsey goal and the hysteria, that was the time to walk away. There was no other high.
Simon has put in the chat box that we missed the boat with Pep when he left Barca, and he may have actually come then. Well, I'm going to chuck a different kind of flavour in this. I actually think had Jurgen Klopp taken over this current Arsenal team, he would have been able to do a job. I really, honestly, hand
Klopp.
on heart, I think he could have. Because I think the thing that's missing from Arsenal Football Club is the fight and the passion. And I think one thing you'll get, and it fucking pains me to say it, but Harry Redknapp is another one, that he installs the passion.
And Terry Venables did.
And Terry Venables.
And Kevin Keegan, that kind of manager.
Jesus, can we stop the Brexit?
Big Sam next, Big Sam.
But Jurgen Klopp, I think, was the manager at that time that could have taken this bunch of players and really made them into something. But
I don't agree. And one thing is that there was a rumour that Guardiola wanted to come to Arsenal with Thierry Henry as his assistant, but Wenger wouldn't fucking leave. So there you go. I don't think Klopp would work at Arsenal because Liverpool can't fucking defend and they're crap. And they've got the same problems that Arsenal got. When they haven't got the ball, they're shit. And and he's just. But if you think Klopp's a good manager, what the fuck is he doing paying £40 million for Oxlade-Chamberlain to put him on the bench?
But the thing is as well, Steve, do you think that if Jurgen Klopp was at our club, and I know this is counter-arguing my point here, but if Jurgen Klopp was at the club and he saw a player, say Virgil van Dijk, £60 million, do you think the board would give him the money to go out and spend that?
Nope.
No. So, I mean, isn't it? It swings and roundabouts. You can look in many different directions. We all know where the fuck-ups are coming from. We can all see the big flashing beacon of where it's going wrong. But I think we can all agree that we're kind of resigned to this as what it is. This is what it is.
Well, it will change. I remember years ago everybody was saying, "Oh, Jesus Christ, we haven't won a trophy for 18 years." This is fucking awful. We come up and stand here on the North Bank and jump around like prats to Slade every week. And the only highlight of the year is the annual Boxing Day fucking snowball fight where we beat the crap out of the local police with snowballs. And, it was a social thing. You went with your mates. Arsenal were crap. You spent all your time moaning about it. It's a whole part of fever pitch is devoted to, oh, yeah, don't go on about us winning the league at Anfield because they're bound to fuck it up. That being resigned to being shit feeling was in force in 1988 and 1989. But it's nothing new.
But what makes it worse, Steve, I think you'll find as well, and I don't know if any of you guys here are the same, right? I'm pissed off whenever we lose, but for some reason, I always go on Twitter and have a little flick through what people are saying with the result. It pisses me off more. And back in the 80s, you didn't have that. Like you look at now, we have it, and people pick up on things that I haven't picked up on, that they've picked up on, that have pissed me off.
But we did have it back in the 80s. This is a fallacy. What the fuck do you think newspapers were? The biggest thing on Monday morning at tea break was dissecting all the football reports of the weekend and talking about what you saw, the highlights you saw on Match of the Day. But those people who were interested in football then, they did sit and dissect it. And you did get pissed off.
But you don't get Big Terry from Scunthorpe who thought Ozil had an off day, and then you sit there and think, "Wow, he did have a bit of an off day, didn't he?"
Well, there was the benefit of the fact that the pub racist and Nazi would come out with his outrageous Brexity comment, and everybody would tell him to shut up, you stupid cunt. And he'd have to go and sit in the corner while everybody took the piss out of him. Now the cunt goes on Facebook and finds 2,000 other wankers the same as him, and it's the same with stupid football fans. Simon sending in his report from Stoke versus Leicester or whatever, but Colin from Hull with one O level who's 53, who lives with his mum, thinks that Vardy's fucking better than Pele. It's absolute bollocks.
Yeah, it is. I agree.
Okazaki is better than Ozil.
No, he's a foreigner, mate. He's a foreigner. Chuck them all out.
Oh, Danny, this is almost too good to do listener questions, but I know we've got to do a few, haven't we? I mean,
we've got some really good ones.
We started at 7:45, and we're like at an hour and a half now.
So
let's get into them questions.
Yeah, right. Let's do quick fire.
Okay, this one is from Nicky Wilson. This will go to Simon. He says, "Are you surprised that after 21 years managing Arsenal, Arsene Wenger doesn't have more stroke in the media, similar to Sir Alex with Fergie time and all the refs being scared of him?" And he's put in quotes, allegedly.
As in Wenger doesn't have more clout in the media with...
Yeah, doesn't get away with shit like everyone else does.
I think Wenger... I think he's very liked in the media, actually, and I think he's just indefensible at the moment. I think you'll find a lot of people in the media like Wenger because, he'll talk about any subject. He'll give you an opinion. He's very engaging. He's good for a quote. He's good for a soundbite. He's just indefensible at the moment. And with referees, and the whole Fergie time sort of thing.
Now, Simon, before you go into it, you have to give the rest of this answer in an Arsene Wenger accent.
Well, look, the referees fucking hate Wenger. That's basically it. No, I just think the referees don't particularly like Wenger because of he pushed fourth officials. He outright comes out and slags them off straight after the game. So I'm not saying referees are biased against him, but he doesn't do himself any favours when he does actions like that. So
he did get away. He's not getting charged of the Sterling thing.
No, and I thought that was over the top, and I agreed with Ian Wright saying he should have apologised to Sterling for that because he basically branded him a cheat. So
I think now he's got away with that. He should put his best referee and PGMOL abuse trousers on and start on Tottenham in advance of the derby about rotor fouling, which goes on, and diving, especially the padded up gentleman from Korea who seems to be hinged at the ankles.
Right, stop answering each other's questions or we'll never get through it. Right, one for you, Gimli, from Davey Boyd. Do the panel think that Gimli's fish will do a better job than Coquelin at centre-half?
Oh, fucking right. I've got a lovely red American flagtail. Beautiful fish. Would definitely do a better job than Coquelin.
Okay, one for you, Devon, from Jonas82. He says, Alexis and Ozil were careless and uninterested against Man City. Should one or both be left out for our next game against the Scum?
Absolutely. I think Ozil, if played properly, would be a better fit. But I don't care if I ever see either one of them play for us again. Like you said, January can't come quick enough.
And we'll see when it comes to the international, when it's Germany v England, and when Ozil is playing against all the teams, all the players that he plays against on a weekly basis for Arsenal.
2 goals, 2 assists.
Yeah,
2 goals, 2 assists.
He'll rip them apart, and we'll go, what's going on? Okay, so one for you, Steve. I'm going to ask everybody that one. Another one from Jonas82. He says, okay, a second one, can I ask some more questions? This for you, Steve. Could Sanchez possibly transfer to City? Become doubtful if he continues to underperform like this, but you don't think he'll go anyway, do you? Because Pep wants discipline and he doesn't have any.
I'm harking back to something Thierry Henry said. And Thierry Henry was talking about Sanchez's lack of discipline in his position and giving up the ball. And he was talking about when he was at Barcelona and how obsessive Pep Guardiola is about you patrol the area you're given and you carry out the role you're given. And he said that twice Thierry Henry wasn't where he was supposed to be, and he fucking just pulled him off.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
And he pulled him off, and he didn't speak to him for fucking 2 weeks.
Please reword that for the sake of a podcast. We don't want to be done for anything libelous. He substituted him. He didn't do anything to his groin area.
So he substituted him, and he didn't talk to him for 2 weeks, and then he got him on the side and said to him, "You know why I took you off, don't you?" So Henry said, well, maybe possibly no, because you did all the things you did good were negated by not keeping the shape, not keeping your position, not stopping that bloke doing this, leaving this open. And when you hear him talk, when he was prepared to drop a player of the caliber of Thierry Henry when he was at Barcelona, you think to himself, well, actually at the same time, who was in the reserves and couldn't get a game in the first team in Barcelona? Oh, Alexis Sanchez. And when he was sold by Barcelona, when we got him, we were told, oh, he's coming to Arsenal because he wants to be the main man, because he never got a chance at Barcelona under Pep Guardiola with Messi and the others there. But one of the main reasons was because he was so ill-disciplined positionally. So I don't see why all of a sudden City want him. The only reason I can think they could want him is to say, right, if we take him out of Arsenal, they've got nothing else left there. That weakens them.
Exactly. Where does he play in their system? Who does he supplant?
He doesn't.
Who does he supplant? He doesn't.
He's not going to say De Bruyne for him. He'll be very, very cheap as well, Sanchez.
Well, he won't. He'll be free.
Exactly. He's incredibly. I mean, you asked any club in the world saying you can get Alexis Sanchez for free, they're obviously going to be like, well, obviously.
But yeah,
it's a no-brainer.
But I mean, my point is this: who's he going to drop? Is he going to drop Gabriel Jesus? Is he going to drop Aguero? No. Is he going to drop Sterling? Possibly.
No. Is he going to drop De Bruyne? No.
I think it'd be one of Sterling or Sane.
Is he going to drop Sane? No, that's stupid.
Is Kyle Walker going to be highly amused over the fact that he's suddenly got no fucking cover in front of him and the cunt in front of him keeps giving the ball to the opposition? Yes.
But the thing is, Alexis Sanchez on the bench. I mean, you want to be the best club in the world, and you need players like Alexis Sanchez to come off the bench, or as backup if one of your best players does get injured.
Well, I think maybe he won't go to City, but I don't think he'll start Arsenal. He could go to Paris Saint-Germain. Possibly that could be something there where they got maybe some money, or get Draxler back to ours. That might be a way to retain Ozil because they're big mates.
I would bite their hand off, Steve, if that happened.
I'll be absolutely stunned if he doesn't go to Manchester City.
Yeah, so would I.
I still think Juventus or Inter. I think Sun Singh could actually play something in this.
No one else could afford his wages.
He won't
Even
go
with
back
Sun
to
Singh
Italy.
coming in. No.
Inter got too much financial fair play shit going on to.
But did you boys see this week the Bayern chief said that they weren't going in for Sanchez because his mind was already made up. He now at this point knows where he wants to go.
He's a City player. Yeah.
That's why he kept fucking passing to him on Sunday.
It's 5 minutes on one question. Said I wouldn't get through them.
A touch of the Chamberlains, I reckon, with Sanchez against Man City.
Right, one for Simon. Well, I'm going to discuss for everybody. Schwinn says for Simon, Ramsey and Alexis can't and don't wish to play together. And we all remember during the Man City game, I got it freeze-framed in my mind. Sanchez has got the ball. Ramsey's running clear down the right-hand side. He's actually got his right arm out and he's pointing, waving, going, woo, sent him a carrier pigeon saying, I'm free, covered in shitter glitter. And he says, what's the solution to this? Drop Aaron Ramsey or a half-gone, yet quality Alexis Sanchez, Simon?
Love the plug.
Thank you.
People keep saying this on Twitter, but I need to, next time I go to a game live and I can watch it, and when they're both playing, obviously on Thursday at the Red Star game, couldn't check to see. But I mean, our best chance in the first half was when Sanchez played in Ramsey for that shot. So I don't know if there is a massive issue there.
They don't like each other.
I mean, but it was well documented when, obviously, when the Sanchez stormed off the training ground. It was reported that certain players called him up. I think it was reported that Koscielny was one of them, and I assumed it would be Ramsey and perhaps one other of that sort of leadership group. So I can understand. And there's been other stories that have come out where players have become fed up of Sanchez because they think Wenger gives him an easy ride, etc.
Wasn't there one?
It's conceivable.
Mertesacker and a few others down tools after the Champions League game last season because he was just been a twat. So I mean, they should be professional enough that they can both play on the same pitch. But if it's not, then I'd probably say to Ramsey, look, just stick it out, mate. There's 6 weeks and he'll be gone. But it's something I'm going to be interested to actually watch. I mean, the other guys might have seen more, but from what I've seen, I've not massively noticed it. But if there is something there, then
let's put it this way. I think that there is amongst the players a feeling that actually the team is stronger without Ozil and Alexis on the pitch. When we played against Chelsea, we were really good, tightly grouped, organised well, and we played really well, and neither of those two played. And to be honest, I'd like to drop both of them for the derby, because if we don't, we're going to get fucking hammered about 7-0.
Well, I was going to ask you the same thing because, I've noticed that when we seem to be the underdogs with no world-class players, we just play better. It's almost like they just kind of put their heads down and go to work.
You're only a world-class player, Devon, if you decide to participate, and those two didn't participate on Sunday.
Right. Agreed.
So there we go. Next question, Daniel.
Thank you very much. Right, Devon, how often do you listen to this pod? Don't lie and say every week, because we don't expect you to.
Every other week. I do like you guys a lot. I'm big into the personality.
Oh, please tell me it's the bullet one. You've got one bullet and you've got three. I love that one. Who created that? That was the best segment ever.
Wait, you're not allowed to be mean. You're nice, Gimli. Now,
big shout out to Jimmy, by the way. He'll know what I mean.
Yes, right. This is from Chaz Nuki Burden, whose book, I think his book is out now, and someone tweeted him to say that they found it in a bookshop in town somewhere.
Not in a disabled restroom.
No,
we'll make a Family Guy quip. Chaz's book, Ollie. What's it about? Running.
Right, this is for you, Devon, from Chaz. He says, which ABW podcaster has the most erotic voice?
Oh, Gimli.
Oh, fuck off.
It was erotic, not squeaky.
I know I'm a squeaky prick. You don't need to tell me that.
Hello, I live under a mushroom.
There's just something 1-900 about your voice, Gimli. It does it. It's like being 13 with my parents' credit cards all over again.
To be honest with you, if it works for you, I'm sat here in a thong.
There we go. It's like train spotting all over again.
I'm not really, but if you want to PayPal me, then I'll take it.
Oh, a serious question from Mr. DJ for you, Devon.
Right.
He says, if any panelist were manager, would they play Erzan Sanchez again this season, as it seems they weren't inclined to play for the shirt?
Okay, I'll take that as a personal thing. It's hard to say because we talked about Lacazette being fed by Ozil and actually, looking great in that Everton game together where we seem to be working. There's a lot of players on this squad that I wouldn't play again. And if you're going to make a statement, make a statement. If you're not, you look weak. I would sit them for the rest of the year. I'd sit them till you sell them. You have to. And I love Mesut Ozil. I wear his jersey. Don't get me wrong. It pains me to say that, but like you said, I was going to bring this up. I didn't know if you guys saw this, but there were so many images of him telling not only the ref to fuck off, but other players. He was pointing at Ozil was doing the demonstrations in this past game. I didn't know if you guys caught that, but he was not happy.
He told Ramsey to fuck off at one point.
Right. I agree.
Okay, right. One from for Steve from Tywin. Oh, here we go, Steve. Long one for you. Expect a 3-hour answer from Tywin. Do you guys agree that we're looking at least 5 years, which is something Gimli mentioned earlier, before we are a club that can challenge again? These next 18 months will be much more of the same. The first couple of posts Wenger will require interrogation of so many new dynamics within the club, so embracing our role as a cup team may be the best thing we can do in that period, given it will be a while before we're back up there again.
Is it a coffee break yet? That was a long question.
It's got a short answer. Absolutely.
Yeah, I was sat there nodding my head to that one.
There's no other answer you can give because we ain't going to compete for at least 5 years. We've got so much money to spend to rebuild the squad. We've got to completely invigorate and rebuild all the systems behind Wenger in the club because he's got to be shoved out and replaced. And when we can't run our club in the 21st digital century and on a 20th century analog one-man control freak procedure because it just can't work like that any longer.
We don't even have full shirt sponsorship because of our Emirates deal. Every other club in the Premier League has a sleeve sponsor.
Yeah, but that's a minutiae. That's a minutiae.
But it's just an example. It's just an example of how we're left behind.
But it's not. But we're left behind in science. We're left behind. Wenger didn't even want
by
this,
Puma.
Wenger didn't want this bloke. The director of excellence, sporting excellence, brought in. He doesn't want a football director. He doesn't want this. He doesn't want that. He doesn't want this. There's got to come a point where you're a multi-billionaire whose assets going to start to actually being devalued.
When you have the Walmart portfolio as your, I mean, you got to understand he's married to Ines Stanley Kroenke is married to Sarah Wall.
I get all that, but the point is that the Arsenal thing is like the crown jewel in his portfolio, because to banks who he's borrowing off billions of dollars for his LA Rams thing and other real estate shit and ranch borrowing, the Arsenal thing in London, Premiership, all that TV money awash with cash, that's the thing that lowers his interest rates. And right. if you're borrowing like $500 million to build a fucking stadium in LA, shaving 0.75 of a point off your interest because you own Arsenal is a fucking valuable thing to do. If that loan's 50 years, yeah. So that's the point here. And there are massive questions to be asked of sporting things about Arsenal, physical things about Arsenal, but massive commercial things. Hold on a minute. Let's back up here. We've got an American billionaire who's investments in sports all over America. He's a real estate owner. He owns fucking ranches bigger than counties of England. Why isn't this guy who's obsessed with sports revenue kicking Gazidis backside royally all over fucking London about the lack of our commercial revenue? Why?
Because he's known as Silent Stan, and if you look at what he's done, he's literally locked into leagues where they have revenue sharing. The NBA, it doesn't matter if you win the championship or if you finish dead last, you're going to have revenue sharing.
Yeah.
The Nuggets are terrible.
But the point is, if you look across the board and you look at all the other brands, their revenue's soaring. Ours isn't. He's just getting the bare minimum. So basically, how long is it going to be before we become West Brom? Anyway, next question.
You got a question, Kim?
I got a question. Yeah, I have got a question. It's a very, very good question. I want to know where our panelists think if we didn't have where we would be now. Sorry, if we didn't have that invincible season. Obviously, the FA Cups were past that. But if you took away the last however many years, 11 years, plus the invincible season, where do you think we'd be now? Do you think we would have Kroenke as an owner? Do you think that we would have won those FA Cups? Do you think we would have had Arsene Wenger as a manager? I know it's a very in-depth question to ask, but I was just sat here thinking. Anybody want to answer that one?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
It's a pointless question.
Would we be the club we are without an invincible season? No, but I mean, we're the only club in England that can claim that. We're the, I mean. It's very difficult because it's multi-pronged. But if you're asking me, does it make the decade of failure acceptable? No, because that seems to be where the question is leading.
Or do you think...
would any other manager without an invincible season be sacked for the run of performances that we've had over the past 18 months? Absolutely.
Yeah, if you took away that invincible season, do you think we would have gone on to win the FA Cups? And do you think...
Does it matter? Because Wenger would still be here. As long as Kroenke's drawing breath, Wenger will be there.
Right. Well, I mean, you can look at something as quickly as say, like, how long did it take for Brazil after they won the World Cup to fire Scolari? Yeah, I mean, like, how you look at other situations. I mean, look at Chelsea. They win the league and fire the manager the next season. Ranieri's out of Leicester.
Let's go further than that. Vincent Del Bosque won the Champions League, won the league, won the FA Cup, won the World Championship, and then got fucking fired.
Yes.
So you may think Mourinho's a cunt, but he has got a point. Wenger doesn't have to worry about getting the sack.
Look at Real Madrid at the moment. They've got their best manager in years, back-to-back Champions League. Now they're faltering in the league and in the Champions League. Will Zidane see out the season? I wouldn't be surprised if they fired him.
This is where you guys should drop in the music of Janet Jackson just saying, "What have you done for me lately?" We're the only team that doesn't. We're the only team in the world that doesn't do that.
Can we move on before we have to mention the unpleasantness up the road?
Okay, right. Has everybody read that question that I put in there? This is a question on a quick answer from everybody. It's from Guna Dub. If you wanted Wenger, I've changed it a bit. If you wanted Wenger gone as manager, what game did it for you? It's for Wenger. We need to get a new manager. Well, I'll answer first. Mine would have been the Champions League final. After the absolute bullshit display, terrible tactics, and the players that he should never have taken Perez off. And then you got the League Cup final the next year, and then you got the Man United 8-2, the Man City 6-3, the Chelsea 6-0.
You really did have a list.
Yeah, I did. I could list off 10 games that I'd have fired him after every single one of those. Devon?
Man United 8-2 was the first breaking point for me, and then last year's West Brom was I'm done. Last year's West Brom loss.
Steve?
Champions League final for me over the fact that he had his only chance in his career to win that trophy, the biggest trophy in world club football, bar the Copa America, or whatever it is, the club version of the Champions League is in South America. And he had one player on the bench, Jose Antonio Reyes, who was the scourge of Barcelona. When he played for Sevilla, he absolutely, every time they played them, he was the person that won Sevilla the game. He knew how to beat them. He knew how to get to them. The players really feared him. And we didn't pick Jose Antonio Reyes because if we played him in the final, we'd have had to have paid Seville £4 million. We threw away £50 million worth of prize money, but more importantly, by not playing him, in my mind, we threw away the chance for Arsenal to ever win the European Cup. And for me, that was unforgivable. But the 8-2 was the one that did it for me.
Simon?
So many, isn't there? Difficult. But I mean, almost looking back a bit, I think I would have maybe probably a bit difficult. It's obviously blessed with hindsight now and knowing what we do. But maybe at the end of that 08 season, I think you could have justified, if you're a proper big club, you obviously gave him the 06 losing Champions League final. You gave him another season. You give him 07, 08. And when we threw away the title, then everyone remembers the Birmingham game and the Gallas, the penalty and the Eduardo tackle and the crying and all that sort of stuff. I think maybe then, if you were a big club, you could have justified getting rid of him and said, look, you've had 2 years after that Champions League final. We haven't done a thing. I think maybe then might have actually been the right point to get rid of him.
He should have been fired for letting Gallas have the number 10. Gimli?
Fired for fucking signing him. Fucking Spurs cunt.
Making him captain as well.
I mean, under him, we've had some not so memorable results, shall I say?
Birmingham League Cup final.
Yeah, but didn't we as well? It's not this one that he should have gone for because he was in his peak. But we lost to Man United something like 6-1, didn't we? And that was really the first time under him that we got a proper spanking. But after that, when he was, in my opinion, not performing, the first time that we got properly humped was that 8-2. And I just remember watching Carl Jenkinson play and thinking, oh, my God, we are in for a right dicking today. And I remember that day so poignantly because I remember our fans staying till the end and screaming on the terraces of Old Trafford. But in terms of results that made me go, yeah, now is the time that I can see that he's got to go. For me, 8-2.
And let me tell you, if that had been the old board under Dennis Hillwood or Dennis Hillwood's dad, he would have been fucking fired the next morning. Bomb straight away by text.
Results like that aren't acceptable. They aren't acceptable.
The reason why I picked that game is that I felt that game was almost like him sticking two fingers up to the board saying, you won't let me have any money to spend on players, so I'm going to pick a load of old shit and get smashed by Man United, so you'll have to let me spend money. That's almost how it appeared to me. But as a fan, it was just completely unacceptable. And Jenkinson was out of his depth, but who the fuck was it playing at centre-half who had an absolute fucking nightmare there?
Traore was left back, wasn't
he? Yeah, Traore was there. Who was that? Who was the Latvian?
Was it Johan Giroud?
No, it was Stepanovs.
Shall I get the team? No, Stefanos was the one when... That was
sure it wasn't
2000. That was the 2001, wasn't it? When
was it Senderos?
Do you want me to get the team up? I'll get the team up.
Get the team up, Simon.
Well, while he's looking at that, Steve, quick question for you from... I've moved down the page now. It's about... someone asking why Dick Law... There hasn't... Oh, here we go. Abbas. Why is there still no replacement for Dick Law, who departed in September? The transfer is open again in a couple of months.
Because Wenger.
They are in talks with someone who was a transfer fixer at Barcelona. That deal is still been doing. The problem there is going to be bloody Wenger. But they're going to have to bring some. They have brought one guy in.
Any word about Imanali from Chelsea?
No, nothing about him at all.
He's going to Monaco, I think.
I have brought one guy in who was the contracts guy at Sky Cycling to do contracts, and he's like a contract lawyer, so they brought him actually in. But he's like the performance guy, Duncan Burgess. We're waiting for them to see out their notice period. And see, this is what fans I'm afraid they don't appreciate, that in the world of, well-paid executives, people have got contracts. If you work for people, you can't just walk out the door and start at Arsenal on Monday morning. You've got like notice periods to work. You might have even gardening leave to do.
Like the bloke who's just joined Renault in Formula One Formula One. He's not allowed to do anything for 6 months, I think.
Yeah, so Duncan Burgess, we've only got part-time until he's finished his contractual obligations with his Australian Rugby League side. The new contracts bloke's the same. And they're in contracts to talk with this Spanish guy who's Barcelona's transfer fixer. They'll have to bring him in because they've got to sort that out. I also would make one more point. If you were the board and you were looking at what the fucking hell's going on at Arsenal at the moment and the state of Arsenal's squad, would you let Wenger loose in the fucking transfer market with £150 million? Because I fucking wouldn't.
Well, he won't spend any of it. It's okay.
Well, I'd just lock up the card and say, you're not getting it. Fuck off.
Simon, you got the team.
Yeah, so we played a 4-3-3. We had Szczesny in goal, back four of Jenkinson, Dejuru, Koscielny, and Armand Traore.
Mm-hmm.
Then we played a midfield three of Coquelin, Ramsey, and Rosicky. And then Walcott and Arshavin off Van Persie. And that's quite, not great, but the bench is the main thing. So the bench was Fabianski, Oxlade-Chamberlain, who you remember we just signed, who's about 17 from Southampton, Shamak, Henry Lansby, Ignacy Mikel, Ogyuzan Oyazkup, and Gilles Sonu. And you compare that to the Man United bench, which was Lingard, Ferdinand, Berbatov, Giggs, Park Ji-sung, Javier Hernandez, and Fabio. I mean, the squad numbers on our bench added up to about fucking 3,050. So that's
I reckon that was the day that Oxlade-Chamberlain decided he wanted to go to Liverpool.
I think when Van Persie was walking off there, the little boy inside him thought, "Oh yeah, I quite like playing this Man United team." But
we've got
Rooney got 3, Young got 2, Welbeck, Nani, Park.
That's the last time Young scored, wasn't it? Oh, we've got only a couple more questions.
That's the last time I ever heard the name Ignacy Mikel.
He's playing. Last I heard, he was playing in the Spanish second division.
And who cares about him? He's dead to us.
And
Chu Young Park lives forever.
Who's on the bench that day? We're being linked with trying to buy him back, apparently. So he's at Besiktas.
Yeah, he's done. He's doing pretty good there. Well, this
and won him back for 12. So there we go.
So, question for Devon from Schwinn. He says 4 points separate us from United in second place. City are running away with the league. Is it really all doom and gloom then? Try and keep that to less than an hour.
Yes. I mean, it's you've heard me the whole time. It's not getting better. If you think it's getting better, we play Tottenham next.
Oh,
so,
Jesus.
You know, and I'm sure we'll talk about that. But what games on the schedule do you look at and go, oh, yeah, that's 3 points? Yeah. Do you look at Brighton? Do you look at
nobody anymore?
Exactly. We're Arsenal, and we can't look at our schedule and see 3 points guaranteed. Whereas it used to be, we could look at least 10 matches a season and go walking through it.
I was thinking earlier today that there is not a single Premier League team that when we go there, they don't think, yeah, we can beat these. And there is not a single top 6 team that think they can come to ours and not win. I know we've got a good home record at the moment, but we don't scare anyone. Tim H wants to know, is it too early to start laughing at West Ham and Moyes? That's never too early. Final question, this will be for you, Simon, from James Howson, or Jimmy. He says, should Arsenal do like Man United did last year and sack the league season off and just concentrate on the Europa League to qualify for the Champions League next season? Good question.
It may come to, I wouldn't sack it off yet. Because I still think I think City are going to win the league, but I think that fight for second, third, fourth is massively open because I think all those. I don't think we're that far behind some of the other teams in there. So I think you got to do what Mourinho did, which is basically where you get to sort of March and you keep yourself in both, and then when you get to March, you'll be in the last 16, almost quarterfinals of the Europa League, and you decide then, you know, what's easier to win. And Mourinho said it's easier for us to win the Europa League, and so. If I was Wenger, that'd be my plan. Look, let's make sure we're in both there or thereabouts by March, and then we decide then which one we go for. And if it's Europa League, go for the Europa League.
Would that not require us to go on a massive run? Because we're already having our February stumble that, you know, I mean, normally we're on the ascendancy.
I mean,
right?
yeah, but if you look at the league now, I mean, United are second on 23 points. We're 4 points off and sixth.
When you look at the fact
I really think that race for that top four is... I mean, Chelsea could easily implode under Conte. I don't think Liverpool are that great under Klopp. I think Spurs and United are probably better than us, but both prone to, you know, slip up. So I don't think that is...
Yeah, but Spurs have got a small squad. They're prone to injuries and
exactly,
Wembley fuck up.
I don't think that, other than City, I think those other sides are all pretty...
Yeah,
without Kane, they're shit.
Well, 10 games gone. You know, this is it. They've got 10 games gone. There's 28 games to go. There's a lot of points there, so you can't write that off yet.
We've played 11 games and we all agreed we've been pretty shit and we're 4 points off Man United.
When you look at the fact that from newly promoted teams, Brighton and Huddersfield has lost as many league games as we have, but we're a third away through the season and we're only 3 points off of a Champions League place. But our goal difference is +4. Man City's is +31. See, look what money can do. Just a quick thank you to Goonies in the USA who asked one about FK, but he isn't here, so he can't answer. Roy Hanson, Stephen Mills, Graham J. Hawke, David Marr, Ben Gorham, and Neil McKeown, who sent in 1,000 questions. Thanks for all your questions, people. We didn't have enough time to get through them all. Gimli, there's no predictions, so that saved us about 3 or 4 minutes.
Are we not doing early predictions for Tottenham?
No,
that's 2 weeks away.
Well, that's just terrible. Then I mean,
all right, loss.
They've all the Spurs players have pulled out of the England squad, so they're all going to
conveniently.
This is what I wanted to go back to. Somewhere we were talking about, Ozil having to play against all the people he plays in the fucking Premiership. No, you won't be, because Spurs and City have done a United and pulled all their players out and said, "Oh, they're all injured. Are they? Fuck."
Do you know what? As well.
If any of those appear on the team sheet in the North London derby, the FA should be saying, "No, you're not playing them." But no, you're not playing them. You said they were injured, so they're suspended for 4 games now. That's actually what the rule is. That's what happens in other countries. Southgate lost today. Delph, Sterling, and another City player. His name escapes me.
Stones.
Yeah, and all the Tottenham players.
And still Wilshere can't get in. Jack Cork's been called up. He's the latest one.
Theo's available. Theo's ready to
play. I don't want Jack Wilshere to be called up for the England side because he'll only get fucking injured and then we'll be paying his wages again. So fuck him. Fuck England anyway.
Yeah, and knowing us, Welbeck will make that his recovery game.
No, we don't know. We don't. Yeah, fuck England. Who gives a monkeys about them? Full of Liverpool and fucking Spurs. Let them go to the World Cup and get humiliated, and then we can make it all their fault.
Did you know that Theo Walcott is only 70-odd games away from being in the all-time top 10 Arsenal appearances?
Yeah, he won't be when we loan him out to West Ham.
391 games.
That really is disgraceful. Should we do shout-outs?
Go on, then.
Lovely stuff. I'm going to start first. And someone that listens to this podcast on a regular basis sent me a DM, and it is fucking huge. And I don't even know how to reply to it. So the best way to say hello to him back, and I will reply to it in due course, is to give him a shout on here. So he is at SIDDARTHA27. So I presume that's Siddhartha 27. So a big shout out to him, and I will, when we finish this, I will send him a tweet. But also as well, I'd like to give a big shout out to the person who got the meerkat and Mike Sands suspended.
Mike Sands gone.
The Mike Sands he is no more.
Good.
As
plagiarising cunt.
Horrible. I take great pleasure in calling Mike Sands a cunt.
How do you know who got them banned? I quite like George.
No, I don't know who got them banned.
Oh, you're just saying whoever it was.
It's 2 separate people.
Yes.
But this is a massive nod to the people who either complained or
we're next. Be quiet.
Well, we probably are. I mean, I've said enough potato-based things on this podcast tonight.
Well, we've got Shitter Glitter behind us.
We have. Shitter Glitter will fight our corner. We have the lawyers.
Yes.
Okay, Danny, let's go to you for your shout-out.
You read the chat window?
Gimli.
No, don't read it out, you fucking tits. That's not how we work. That's sacred. My gentleman's nod goes to a certain bloke called Hassan, who is one of Sean's roommates at Nottingham Trent University. He's an Arsenal fan, and he's been listening and he's been joining into the chat box, and he's a little bit of a geezer. And Gimli, how do we say hello to Sean if she's listening?
Hello, you cunt.
That's exactly it. So I'm going to get Hassan to play that to everybody in Sean's place in her accommodation. Yes. So and so just to say hello to Cam as well. They're all funny boys. There's one of them who's a northerner and he's a Spurs fan. So when they're all pissed up in a chip shop, he was singing Spurs songs in a northern accent. I never thought I'd see the day. Disgusting Middlesex scum.
Why did you even have to defile the fucking podcast with that mention?
Get on with it.
Sit in the corner.
Oh, Steve, you've piped up, so let's have you next.
My mention goes out to a guy called Jules. It's at Julio Guna, and him and I were theorising about how it is that the Fonz was never arrested as a usury suspect the other week. We found it very odd that a 37-year-old midget was able to hang around 16-year-old cheerleaders and was A, cool, B, allowed access to them, and they hung off of him, and no one questioned this. Yeah, exactly. He was a bit sort of like, and this is one for the older viewers out there. He was a bit sort of like the American version of Len Fairclough, Finger of Fudge, and all that. Yeah, so shout out for Jules.
Hideous
Lovely
business,
stuff.
Steve.
A finger of fudge, keep moving.
Yeah, indeed. Well, of course, whilst we're talking about sexual harassment and perversion,
Easy Tiger.
Kevin
allegedly.
Spacey.
that's just good to talk about the non-Conservative Party, our beloved government, who are resigning left, right, and centre for being gay pimps, putting their hands on Julia Hart-Brewer's knees and obsessing over her Charlies. Other delights where they're being referred to the old bill themselves, or they're being referred to the police by the Whip's office, and Boris Johnson for getting British citizens imprisoned abroad. Massive effort, really, way to go.
And Julie Hartley-Brewer is brilliant. If you want to listen to her on talk radio every day from 10 till 1, she'll get you riled up.
Danny, Danny,
What?
I'd like to listen to her with the fucking 200-ton weight gurgling from the bottom of the Thames. Next question. Thank you and good evening.
Amazing. This has been a Shitter Glitter podcast, everybody.
Yeah, Simon,
I've still got to give a shout out.
You have to give 2 plugs at least every podcast to Shitter
right,
Glitter.
yeah, that's in the contract.
I also want Simon to mention where he got that meal that he had in Birmingham that was in his picture on Twitter earlier on.
Did Shitter Glitter pay for that, Simon?
No, Shitter Glitter did not pay for that. But I was a lovely meal, but I would have rather spent my money on Shitter Glitter, to be honest. But no, that was at a place called the Smoke Rub in Birmingham. It was very, very nice. 2 kilos of chicken wings, which I shared with a friend of mine, and then a
smoke rub in Birmingham sounds like something that should be illegal.
Yeah.
That's hugely.
It is in 48 states.
Just going to make a note, this is Birmingham, England, not Birmingham, Alabama.
Yeah, but for my shout out, I haven't got anyone specific to give one to.
Simon, you know the drill by now.
So
It's really been that long.
Mrs. Spidey or the Fife.
Last one I gave is a Colin the Wank Sock, and this one goes to Indie Chris, just for his flares and his red hair. So if you go and give him a follow, just give him a bit of love.
Lovely stuff. Devon?
All right, I'm going to shout out my group here in Atlanta because they keep me grounded. So everybody at ATL Gooners on Twitter and at Kitty Glitter, since we were talking about shitty glitter earlier. My COO of the group is actually at Kitty Glitter, and she keeps everything running. So also, if you guys get a chance, check out Soccer in the Streets. They're doing some amazing work here with kids and growing the game in the city of Atlanta. So
are they charging for it though?
No.
Oh, good.
No, it's actually awesome. It's a soccer stadium inside of a MARTA station, which is our Metro Atlanta Rapid Transit Authority. There's actually like a full size pitch inside of a train station, and they're expanding it for all the kids that ride MARTA to school.
Amazing. And I also feel we should give one more shout out to Shitter Glitter, whose lady products for the front door are coming out very shortly.
They're in development at the moment.
They are, and
they're working with Chris with that because
I believe their slogan,
cleanly curtains.
Yes, I believe their slogan for the ladies' range is 2 in the pink, 1 in the stink, because the pink is always more important.
We must thank everybody from Goonosphere as well for loaning us Devon. Not that they bother anymore.
We should. Thank you, Goonosphere. Devon, hopefully you'll come back one day.
Every time, man. Whenever you guys need me, I had a blast.
I mean,
if asked Stokes as well, and Stokes said yes if he's free.
If the sponsorship improves, then maybe we'll be able to give you some money next time. So
fly him over.
Yeah.
On the Shitter Glitter Express.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just ready for the crisps and the Cadberries.
Amazing. You could tally listens.
Hey.
Right then, all that's left is to thank my wonderful guests tonight, Steve, Simon, and Devon. Danny, you had to be here.
And I'm glad you're here again for breaking the record.
It's lovely. How many consecutive weeks is that?
All of them.
Oh, it's all right. I can have a countdown once this show's over.
Yeah, try and get it over in the international break.
Yeah. Are we doing anything for international break or fuck them?
I'd like to have a chit chat with the people like Norma, who's our friend in Holland, who's always chit chatting in the box, because looking for maybe get a few new people to come on the radio show, because we only have 2.5 that regularly do that, and one of them's Ginger, and the other one's regularly drunk, and Carl is emigrating his way towards more podcast stuff. So yeah, we might be find some more people. Got to check with Jason though, because Jason runs that at the moment. With a Welsh stick of justice. You say a bad word and you're banned.
He does. Right then. I think that's it then, isn't it? I mean, guests have been thanked, questions have been answered. Steve, thank you for doing the bit on Man City.
That was very good. My favourite bit.
Very good. I feel it was everybody brought something to the table. It was an enjoyable discussion, and I enjoyed the podcast.
I think it was more constructive than soul searching, ripping your hair out and getting all het up for fuck all, because we all know it's going to get repeated.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. Hopefully the people that have listened have had a bloody good laugh, and we'll be back not next week, week after that, Danny.
Can I just leave you gentlemen with a lovely image?
It's not shitty glitter based, is it?
No, this is for Polish football fans. One of the Gdansk teams had been having a bad time recently, getting hammered 5 or 6-0, and all of a sudden 800 ultras turned up at training to have discussions with the team, who they surrounded on the pitch at training and wouldn't let out the stadium. Spookily, performances got a lot better.
Oh dear, I wonder why.
And this behaviour was last month. Previous episodes of Polish fan team stimulation, the best ever was KSP Dospel Katowice. The ultras ambushed their team's own coach on the way back from a 7-1 defeat, hauled them all off, gave them a fucking good hiding, took all their kits away, and told them that they weren't getting them back until they stopped being a fucking disgrace. And then proceeded to turn up at training every day to repeat the same message. Spookily, Dospel Katowice improved massively after this. And I'm just thinking, the derby is approaching. Perhaps it is time we sent a group of like-minded gentlemen to Colney to have words.
Just send Jason on his own.
Just to invade the cryo chamber, chuck a taser in the swimming pool. Yeah. Pointing out that a few more people can have an ankle like fucking Santi Cazorla, but what's written on it won't be so polite.
And then once they're all covered, after they drag themselves out of the pool after being toted, covered them in shitter glitter. Hey, Gib.
Yes. One final last plug for shitter glitter. That's glitter. That's shitter glitter.
You nearly said glitter glitter then, didn't you?
I nearly did.
That's their new product.
The ladies' product.
Yeah, that's
coming up.
Steve, what did you do there? You released what they're doing in the ladies' range. You've let everybody know.
That's the vajazzle by the kilo.
Yes.
And they're also working on something for our northern friends, bitter glitter, to sprinkle on the top of your pint of mild.
I thought it was Bardsley people. Hey up, glitter.
Just shut this shit down for fuck's sake.
Right, we're getting into bad territories. So that was a Bergkamp Glitter podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and keep it Arsenal. Good night.
Nanu, cheeky monkeys. Hoi, cheeky monkeys. And here's a little bit of shenanigans from before the podcast started.
Did you guys get to watch any of the ATL United stuff? I know MLS is such a substandard league, but it was pretty amazing.
I watched bits of it. I was in tears because the mighty Portland ran away with the league and then got fucked over. You think a 0-0 away draw, all we have to do is go home and let Valeri score 1 goal, 1-0 through to the next part? No, fuck it up, lose 2-1 at home. Bullshit.
Yep. To Houston.
Oh, fucking, that's ridiculous.
And the thing about it is I love Portland. That was my team before ATL United, because my wife has a friend out there in the Pearl District, and Portland's amazing for one, and that park is it's so close. You're literally like there's no bad seat. You're on top of the players. It's amazing, and it's loud. They may only be 12,000 people, but it sounds like 40.
I'm just going for getting more questions from people, so carry on.
I was just saying we were pulling like 70,000 a game. It was insane.
That is, people don't realise that you get the average attendance for MLS is higher than nearly any other country in the world. League that outside the top few. It's ahead of France now, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, your lot getting 70-odd thousand for a game reminds me of the old NASL days.
Which is, and the crazy thing is we didn't do it that way. There is no Pele. This team was a bunch of young kids, and everybody's talking about Almiron and Martinez and them leaving, but it doesn't really matter because Tata Martino has such respect in the Argentinian world and in the South American world, having coached at Argentina and Paraguay and Newell's Old Boys, and I mean he's literally created a pipeline to where we just signed this 23-year-old right back to take over when Walks goes back to Tottenham. We're talking about potentially bringing in Javier Mascherano from Barcelona when his contract runs out. So, I mean, I think ATL United is set up to be the way that an MLS club should be run in the future, but it won't mean shit if MLS doesn't go to a pro rel system. You guys have the best of everything because at least teams have something to play for.
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching MLS since it first started. My first team were Miami Fusion.
Oh, wow.
And then Carlos Valderrama won the league or won the division. And then they went, nah, closing you down. So then I went about 10 years without a team. And then Portland came along and I went, oh, that Portland dark green kit and the small ground and the whole thing. And I thought, oh. But the only thing I don't like about Portland is I know someone who went to one of the games and he says the people who they sing the songs, but they are given a script of when to sing the songs and in what order to sing them, which I thought was a bit weird.
Well, the thing about it, it's not really a script. It's just they get a lot of. You got to understand, man. Everybody that's not in their wall is a tourist. It's all. I mean, they have a large tourist section, and they almost kind of demand it. Like when you're walking into the grounds, they're handing out chant sheets, which is to me is awesome because that was almost the one thing that we were kind of lacking at our games. Yeah. Was we had 3 chants that everybody knew. It was the A. T, L, which isn't hard to figure out. And then there was the, we are the A from way down south and we are here rowdy and proud, which is, again, let's clap our hands. I mean, it was kind of like I wanted a little bit more creativity, but I guess that'll come in year 2. So
amazing for year 1 though. But the problem with it is that you could have 1 million people come to your games and it doesn't really make any difference to the players you can attract, does it? Because you don't buy your own players. I mean, you get a couple. But the league just go, well, we're giving you this player. It's like with the Tim Howard situation. They took Tim Howard off of whatever team he was. Was it Colorado they took him from?
Yeah.
Back in the day. And then they said, oh, your replacement is a 37-year-old keeper. So you got the best American keeper in probably forever. And then they were swapping him for some pensioner until they stopped doing that. Well,
also look at the owner of that club. What do you see in common?
Yeah, scumbag.
What do you see in common? I mean, they're the same fucking thing. That's why everybody says, we got to get change at our. You're not going to get change. It's not going to happen. Every once in a while, you're going to have a flash in the pan. Like the Los Angeles Rams are doing this season, where you get a good. That's the thing. We could go out and get a great coach. We could go out and get. Because I would love for us to go after some names that nobody's talking about, Arda Turan or whatever. I mean, that to me, that does nothing for me. Go get a Pjanic. Go get some of these.
Yeah, I've sport him on FIFA.
Yeah,
player.
I mean, go get a Pjanic. Go get a. You actually pull the trigger on some of these players that you talk about. But the most frustrating thing to me. And I guess we're getting started early here. I'm sorry, I'm just ranting. No, the most frustrating thing to me was you made all these kid signings. You remember when we were talking about Bielik and Benasser and Mullen and Terral and all this youth and Mavididi and Maitland-Niles and where are they? I mean,
online in Wigan,
or
are you back, Steve?
I've not gone anywhere. I've just been sat there mainlining heroin, listening to the MLS bullshit.
I thought you were going to get something to eat.
Steve, you said exactly what I was thinking.
Well, I was getting the questions, and I'll have to save this.
Thing is, and you can look at it like this: there will be change at Arsenal. Look at the fucking state of Kroenke. I don't think it's very long before he'll be seen as cemetery. His son will be a bit more adventurous than him, but Wenger will go, and they'll get another coach in. And we might not be buying players like Mesut Ozil or Alexis Sanchez any longer, but at least we'll be able to fucking defend corners and actually know how to fucking defend.
Save it, Steve. Save it. It's easy, Tiger. Right, Gim. I've got all the questions ready. Everything's recording.
Oh, cunt, I've got to put my headset on.
Steve's got to put his headset on. If I get any more